What's up, my friends in film fandom, wherever you may be and however you may be watching? Thank you so much for giving us just a little bit of your time. And I guarantee by the end of this review, they're all going to laugh at you. They're just all going to laugh at you. Look, one of the classic horror movies of all time by any measure. And I think it's about time that we sat and talked about it. And what two people can I possibly talk about this movie with other than the two that are here with me today? The first of which being the cosplay expert of our channel, one of the horror aficionados. That's my hetero life mate, Jeremy. What's up, brother?
Not a whole lot. You guys get the return of the Eddie wig, so there you go. You're welcome. I wear it quite well, to be honest. So this is my very quick, they call it closet cosplay. Just let me throw together real quick that you have on your own. This is my best. I'm definitely John Travolta from the movie. So I should have had like a beer in my hand to be more biblically accurate with the movie, which biblically accurate is a fun term I'm sure we're going to throw around here. But yeah, this is that's the best you get. So
they're all going to laugh at you for the wig.
Hey, they dig the wig.
No, we're not. No, we're not. We love your cosplay shit. I can never pull off any cosplay. I doubt it. Unless it's fat, bald, white guy. I can never pull it off.
I mean, if you want to borrow the wig, you can. Go ahead.
And of course, the shape from the Lone Star State, the other horror expert that we are blessed to have at our disposal. That's our man Tex. What's up, brother?
You know, this film just proves you can't trust something that bleeds for 5 days and doesn't die. That's all I'm saying, guys. Just, you know, I mean, I know we're all thinking it, and I'll go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. I'll be that guy. That's fine. I usually am. But, you know, this is just, you know, piece of evidence number 1 through 50. You know, you can't trust these ladies, y'all. I mean, they're tricksters. You got to watch out for them. So be careful.
You can at least tolerate them unless they have. If they have,
that's a big caveat.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm sure we've all seen the you know, the not the pie chart, but the, you know, the graph that shows, like, you know, the crazy hot scale, right? Mm-hmm. You know, and it's not that Sissy Spacek is that attractive. She's not an ugly woman, but I mean, she's high up on that crazy mark, and her mother's equally just as bad. So don't breed with that bloodline. You know, you're asking for bad news. There's a reason Dad left, so he was the smart one here. So
guess you're saying it's a lot of bad blood.
A lot of bad pig's blood.
Yeah, I'm telling you what.
Yeah, don't forget real quick, the whole time we'll be live here, there's going to be a question for the poll. What did you think of Carrie? Did you think it was a great movie? Did you think it was meh? Or do you think they're all going to laugh at you? We'll substitute that as the if you didn't like it.
How could you not put "I want my rib back" as an option for this poll? Because we might want to consider that one as well. You know what I mean?
But let's get into this now. What we're talking about tonight, of course, is Carrie. It's the 1976 American supernatural horror film directed by the great Brian De Palma, from a screenplay written by Lawrence D. Cohen, but adapted from Stephen King's first novel, the 1974 novel of the same name. The film stars Sissy Spacek as Carrie White, a shy 16-year-old who was constantly mocked and bullied in school. The film also features Piper Laurie, Amy Irving, Nancy Allen, William Katt, who I remember because I'm an old guy, from the Greatest American Hero TV series. It only lasted for like a season, but actually went on to some great success. PJ Souls, Betty Buckley, and John Travolta in supporting roles. This is actually his first film role. This is the first film in the Carrie franchise. There was a sequel, there was a remake, there was even a TV show and a play, but none of those ever carried the effect that this particular film had. Theatrically released on November 3rd, 1976 by United Artists, Carrie became critically and commercially successful, grossing over $33.8 million against its $1.8 million budget. It received 2 nominations at the 49th Annual Academy Awards, one for Best Actress for Sissy Spacek, and the other for Best Supporting Actress for Piper Laurie. On the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, 93% of 73 critic reviews are positive, with an average rating of 8.3. The consensus review reads, and I quote, "Carrie is a horrifying look at supernatural powers, high school cruelty, and teen angst, and it brings us one of the most memorable and disturbing prom scenes in history." The film has significantly influenced popular culture, with several publications regarding it as one of the greatest horror films ever made. In 2008, Carrie was ranked 86 on Empire's list of the 50 greatest movies of all time. It was ranked 15th on Entertainment Weekly's list of 50 best high school movies, and 46th in the American Film Institute's list AFI's 100 Years, 100 Thrills. The prom scene has had a major influence on pop culture and was ranked 8th on Bravo's 2004 program 100 Scariest Movie Moments. In 2002, the film was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress for being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. Probably one of the several movies that meets all three of those qualifications pretty clearly. I mean, I'll go to you first, Tex, real quick. Kind of give me a brief paragraph on your overall thoughts of the movie.
Yes, it's a classic. You can't deny that. The historical significance of this film is without reason. It's there. Not one of my favorites. I rewatched it last night for the first time in some years. It didn't hold up for me as well as I remembered. I thought it was a bit long. It's not a bad movie. It's a good watch, but it didn't hold up as well as I wanted it to, which was a disappointment. But, it's one of the landmarks in horror. I mean, you for everything you just said, it's earned its place that, you can't take it away from it.
Yeah, Jeremy, how about you? Quick thoughts before we dig into some of the stuff.
Yeah, like you guys said, I mean, how do you go wrong with this movie? You've probably seen it parodied or referenced all over the place. Like, dropping the pig's blood on her head and her walking through the prom on fire, just murdering everybody and flipping John Travolta's car. Which
poor John Travolta.
Pretty dope scene, just.
Things weren't tough for John Travolta. He's okay.
The greatest character in this whole film. He is my favorite. I love him in this movie.
I mean, hey, next year he was quite literally staying alive, strutting down the street.
I'm telling you what.
Then he was, tell me more the year after that. So
don't fuck musicals. We're not going there. No, thank you. So.
Yeah, but in this movie, he at least looked like he was in high school. Like, Grease came out 2 years later, and he looks like he's fucking like 40 years old. I don't know.
Depending on what scene that he may or may not have shaved off his, full 5 o'clock shadow for it. You gotta,
Yeah, it looks weird. But no, like you guys said, it's a classic horror movie. Like, I enjoy watching it. I don't get tired of watching it. Brian De Palma is pretty great. Made one of my favorite 80s movies of Scarface. So the guy knows how to do some pretty brutal stuff on camera.
Right.
Yeah, the guy definitely knows his shit. Look, I was watching this, and I was as I was watching it, I was kind of reminded about how there's kind of different angles to take for a horror movie. You can do a straight up slasher like a Freddy or a Jason, give it enough story to where it kind of works as a movie, but really it's mostly about the situational gore. But when you get into the psychological kind of weird stuff, and really get into the stuff that goes on between the ears, this movie fits this better than probably most horror movies ever. I mean, at least the mainstream ones. I mean, I haven't seen every horror movie ever made, but I mean, this is not only loaded with talent, but it was brilliantly put together. And even today, it fits a lot of today's themes and things that are kind of upfront, about today's life, especially like in the high school set, the high school cruelty, teen angst and stuff like that. And then you throw in the fact that this whole, she's kind of religiously abused. If there's a better term, I don't know what it is off the top of my head.
I wouldn't say religiously abused, but for sure psychologically abused. I think
maybe that's better. She's psychologically abused with her religious beliefs.
It's religious trauma. That's it. It boils over on her because she does start talking back to her mom, like, "Look, man, I'm not messing with you." So,
right.
Yeah, but there is something that's disturbing about this movie at times, which makes it that much funner to watch. If it doesn't make me sound weird to say it like that, but yeah, and then of course, then you get to the end of the movie and you get the visuals, the whole thing with the prom, which was one of the iconic scenes in all of cinema. I mean, that whole sequence is just brilliantly done. Yeah. All of De Palma's little things in there, like the split screen stuff like that that he did was all brilliantly done. That was De Palma. This was De Palma's, really, it was kind of his coming out party, if you think about it. I mean, because this was his first film that really popped, and then he just had a succession of films from that point up till now that were just absolute bangers. But let's talk about Brian De Palma first. I mean, you can't knock this guy. Before we get into the cast, obviously we'll talk about the director. You can't knock this guy's body of work. I mean, he got started, like I said, kind of around this time. He had done a few things before this, but Carrie was his first really, really huge. Like I said, it was his coming out party big time. And after this, there was just a series of movies over the course of the last several decades that have just been awesome. I don't know. I'll go to you, Jeremy. I mean, Brian De Palma's overall work, he's done so many great things, even some things that I think are really, really good, but kind of went under the radar. What are just some of your thoughts on Brian De Palma and his career so far?
Like I said, let me preface this by saying, I don't know. It's a weird core memory that I have of, like, I was a little kid and I remember being at my papa's house, like my great grandfather. I don't know why, but we were just watching something on TV, and I swear it had to be this. I'm like little me. I'm watching this girl like covered in blood walking down the street, and I'm like, what the hell? What is she doing? Like, and I'm like, oh, it was, years later. I didn't know it was Carrie we were watching. I think the other one might have been Silence of the Lambs. So I don't know. Somebody was in a hole and there was somebody torturing them. Like, that's probably what that was. But I mean, like I said, as I got older, really the first thing I saw genuinely that I could say for sure was, like I said, like Scarface, stuff like that. This guy, that's when he was hitting his stride, really. Like I said, in the 80s, like this was like you said, the coming out party. This is your prom, and then now you're, going on with your life, just like you said, one banger after another. So, like I said, you guy knows how to knows how to make some movies, even if it means rupturing somebody's eardrum with a fire hose in this movie. That may or may not have happened. Gotta get that shot, man. Whew.
Yeah, Tex, how about you? The career of Brian De Palma, how has it impacted you as a film fan?
Oh, well, his works, it more than speaks for itself. From Carlito's Way, Scarface. I know at least the first Mission Impossible. I don't know how many more that he did, but my personal favorite film that he made actually came out in 2006. It was the Black Dahlia murders, Hollywood in the 40s or whatever. I adore that film. It's got Josh Hart in it, ScarJo's in it, Aaron Eckhart, the guy that played Two-Face in Dark Knight. If you haven't seen Black Dahlia from 06, go back and watch that one. I remember,
I'm just being, if you haven't noticed, I've been having stuff thrown at me.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me to plug it up. Nah, thank you.
Plug it up.
Well, Jeremy, I know it's your time of the month, so I'll try to be as soft spoken as possible, which is probably not very soft, but deal with the pussy. So, but
I
yeah,
wore the red shirt today, man.
Black Dahlia from 06, though. I like going back to that old era of Hollywood, the look of it, the feel of it. I've always been a fan of timepiece films, and that's a very good representation that De Palma did. And I don't know if it did well or not, but I remember catching it back when it came out. So it was a really good film. So
yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at his body of work. He actually had two pretty big movies that came out in '76. One was called Obsession, that he did with the late, great Cliff Robertson, who played, obviously, Uncle Ben in the first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire, and with another absolute legend in John Lithgow. I remember seeing that movie when it was years ago. That came out the same as Carrie. And then, of course, he does movies like Scarface, which I think was one of my personal favorite films of all time.
I love that movie so much.
Then another banger in The Untouchables. And then Carlito's Way, which is one of the most underrated mob movies ever made. When people start talking about mob movies, they don't usually, I mean, real hardcore, like people who are fans of cinema and mob history might pull this movie out, but a lot of casual movie fans have overlooked this one. It is kind of sad. He did a Nick Cage movie called Snake Eyes years ago, which is actually pretty good. Then, of course, The Black Dahlia, which is another great movie. But one of the movies that has gone really under the radar of his is a movie with Sean Penn and Michael J. Fox from the late 80s called Casualties of War, which to me is one of the great war dramas that few people have seen.
Oh, and that one doesn't sound familiar.
That movie follows a platoon in Vietnam that Sean Penn plays this really kind of unhinged. This was kind of early Sean Penn too. When he was really, I mean, he's good now, but he was good then. He gets kind of unhinged, and then they decide to kidnap a Vietnamese girl and take them with her to be basically their sex slave. And Michael J. Fox plays the one guy who's not going to be that kind of an asshole. So, I mean, yeah, that's a really dramatic, really awesome movie. If you haven't seen it, I'm pretty sure that's free to watch on one of the streaming services. I actually have it on DVD. But I mean, you can't look at this guy's body of work. Even his lesser known films that didn't do very well. I mean, he did Bonfire of the Vanities too, which is kind of a classic. One of the things that made Tom Hanks a star. But yeah, I mean, just his work is just so amazing. I mean, and obviously, you know, he's won plenty of awards. I mean, Untouchable's got him 4 Academy Award nominations. White got him 1. Carrie got him 2. Not to mention Golden Globes and BAFTAs and stuff like that. So the guy's won a ton of awards for good reasons. The guy's awesome. Not to mention he's done a lot of short films too. He did a bunch of short films in the 60s. I don't think any of them ever won any awards. I don't recall ever seeing any of them. But yeah, so he got his start. 1960 was his first credited short film.
Wow.
And his first full-length film was credited in 68.
Wow.
Yeah, so the guy's been doing it for a while at a pretty high level. Because, I mean, if you go all the way back to, I mean, if you say that 1976 was his first big year, I mean, he's been doing it for a while now. I'm 47, so I was born that year, so he's been doing it for 47 years. You don't last that long in Hollywood by not being great.
Yeah.
But now let's get to the cast. And look, this is a cast of people that have all gone on to various levels of success. You got Sissy Spacek, who at the time I think was already a pretty big rising star. Amy Irving's been around for a while. Nancy Allen went on to a lot of great things. She was actually married to Brian De Palma for a while. William Katt, who went on to have a lot of TV stuff. I think he ended up doing more stuff behind the camera. John Travolta, we all know. Piper Laurie, who at the time was already, I think she was an Oscar-nominated actress at the time that movie even came out. Because she was in The Hustler with James Gardner back in 61.
I was gonna say, they said that's crazy that she got an Oscar for that in like the 60s, and then like 15 years later she did this and got another Oscar. I'm like, to not do something for 15 years and get Oscars on bookended. I'm like, that's impressive. That speaks to your acting ability. So that's
it speaks to everything coming together at once. You got a great story written by Stephen King, a great director by Brian De Palma, and then you have just a cast of power. Yeah, and then you bring in someone like Piper Laurie, who's already a very talented actor. When you start filming this thing, Sissy Spacek, who, like I said, she was on her way up. I think she was 23 or something when they made this
early
movie.
20s.
She'd already had a couple of good things on screen before that. But yeah, you can't really. I mean, you can't knock this cast at all. But yeah, it's the cast is fantastic. Tex, is there anybody other than maybe Sissy Spacek who really does carry this movie in a lot of ways? Is there anybody whose performance kind of jumped out at you?
Well, I got to give credit to PJ Souls. I mean, obviously Halloween fame. I don't know if she even did a lot of big movies, but she was big in the horror world. Did you ever see Rock and Roll High School back in the day? Another 80s film she was in.
I know I've seen it, but it's been a long time.
She was she played a mom in the horror film Uncle Sam that came out in the 90s. Another film that it's the perfect 4th of July horror film. If you haven't seen it on 4th of July, go see it. But she also recently did a kind of an independent thing. It's called Candy Corn. It's made with a bunch of the actors who do the Rob Zombie films, but PJ Souls in this movie is great. I mean, just for, if not for anything, but for the just never taking that stupid looking red hat off, even going to the prom. I mean, that takes some dedication right there, buddy. I mean, you're going to wear this, rainbow red cap everywhere to the prom of all places. But hey, it's all good. Just the scene of her laughing at the end of the film, once Carrie gets covered in the pig blood, she looks like she's an ecstatic 5-year-old at a birthday party when she's doing that scene. Yeah. I mean, it's just, her and John Travolta make this film for me. Sissy Spacek, I mean, I know she was going for the, quiet, shy, and she does that well. I don't think she's as good in this film. I mean, in my opinion, of course, as a lot of people think she is, but it's just whatever. But John Travolta, I mean, come on, the man's whole if you were going to cast me in this film, I'd be that guy. He just drinks beer the whole time. That's his whole motivation in this movie. I mean, come on. I mean, even his friends go around and, hey, toss me one of those. His friends give him a driving beer while they're going down the highway. That should have won an award right there. But, PJ Souls and John Travolta, that's where it's at for me.
Yeah. Jeremy, how about you? Other than Sissy Spacek, who really jumps out at you in this movie, their performance?
Yeah, I would say the lady who played Miss Collins, the only person.
Oh, that teacher was great.
Yeah,
she was great. Yeah.
It makes it more tragic because like she's the only person who sympathized with Carrie and actually, it's like, damn, why couldn't you have been my mom? Damn.
She had some great legs too. Holy crap, my lord, she looked good.
She's not stupid either. She knows like, okay, what are you guys really doing? Like she goes and I was gonna say the guy that played Tommy, the guy that took her to the prom, because it's like I don't think he knew anything about it either. Like I think he genuinely, all he had to do was just take her to the prom, which was retribution that his girlfriend was trying to, because she felt bad about the whole thing. But I'm like, I think from that point on, when they get to the prom, he was being genuine. I think he was trying to build her up too, and he actually liked her, because it just sucks all the more because when you know what's going to happen, and they're all going to end up dying. Because I don't think she even realized what she was really doing. I think she finally just straight up snapped, and she snapped hard and ended up killing everybody in the gym. So I would say, yeah, like Tommy and then the teacher, because it's like all these people. I mean, I get it. Teenagers suck. It doesn't matter what era. They're all terrible. So they all deserve to die. But
the teacher gets credit alone just for slapping the hell out of them bitches. I mean, just that alone. Holy hell. I was like, can we get that back in school? Because I think that might fix a lot of problems. I
was watching the kill count. He's like, damn, can she do that? And then it's like, it's the 70s. He's like, oh, she could probably do that. I'm like, yeah, you probably can get away with it.
Yeah, it was almost 50 years ago. You can do a lot more different shit in school back then.
We need to bring back smoking and slapping in schools. That's two things that need to come back immediately. When you see the principal's office, I mean, he's got an ashtray right there on the end of his, Right. It was, I was, I'm not that old, but I mean, whenever I was in, elementary up till middle school, the principal still had a paddle in his office, and believe me, it got used on me more than a fair amount of times. But
no.
Oh yeah, never, right? There was an old hickory paddle in the principal's office, and the guy that was he never played pro ball, but he was like USFL, like XFL level football player. Frank, would know what I'm talking about here. He was close. He was almost pro, and he had a hefty swing, boy. He'd take some height off of you when he got a hold of you. So,
put a big hole in the center, just give you a welt.
Oh, there were holes drilled. There was no wind resistance whatsoever. I mean, you.
For our dynamic, that way.
Yeah, but no, we need to start abusing our school children again. Is basically what I'm advocating here. So let's get back to that, y'all.
Back in the day, we used to spank kids in the school and teach them how to shoot guns. There were way less school shootings. I don't think that's a correlation, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, every day whenever I went to high school, I had a pocket knife in my pocket, and there was a gun in my truck. Guess what? Nobody got shot or stabbed. So, just saying.
Yeah. For me, it was other than Sissy Spacek was Piper Laurie. I mean, she's so good at being evil. She's got the Betty Davis thing in Mommy Dearest. I mean, she is if you think about it, she is the cause of Carrie.
Yeah.
If Carrie would have had the good fortune to have been born into any other family, sure, maybe she might have had the best life, but she would have been tormented by this woman who is herself kind of every bit as crazy and mentally broken as Carrie.
I think she's worse.
Doesn't seem to have the telekinetic ability. So, but yeah, I think that the way that she obviously even more so than the bullying that Carrie receives in school is what drives her to this ultimately. I mean, she's the one that does 90% of the work. There are 10% is the asshole bitches that Carrie has to deal with at school. But I mean, she's the one that does all of the damage to Carrie's psyche that makes things end up the way they end up. And the way that, and I was watching it right before we went live, the scene after the prom where right before she stabs Carrie, It's like, which that was just great dialogue delivery, when she's talking about
her confession.
Her confession to Carrie. I should have killed myself the moment he put you in me. Blah blah blah, all that stuff. It's like that was really heartfelt dialogue delivery for somebody who knows what they're doing. I mean, there was a reason she got nominated. Yeah, actually, I think she won the award for best supporting actress.
Right there, I mean, when she's talking about how her husband had whiskey on his breath and how much she loved the taste of it and everything. I mean, just, it's that she's admitting to, she liked the sin as much as he did, but through her psychological, mess that she's dealing with, she just couldn't handle it, and it's just, you feel. I mean, and obviously, I won't jump to the ending, but she gets a very fitting in for the position that she dies in for certain things in the film, you could say. But no, the mom was, like I said, I think the mom was crazier than Carrie was. I mean, she's, just for wanting to go to the prom, she starts beating her own self up. I mean, it's like, what the hell? Like, calm down. It's not that big a deal, but she's nuts. So.
Should have called Miss Collins over and given Mama a slap across the face.
Yeah, it's always really good when you can get these two broken characters on screen and see how they kind of help each other spiral out of control. And that really was that really crazy dysfunctional relationship between Carrie and her mother. It was. I hate to say it like this, but it was not entertaining. It was engrossing. You feel for Carrie in one way, you feel for her mother in another. You feel bad that they're broken, but at the same time, they're so, maybe not so much Carrie, her mother most they're just so evil, so bad, so mean.
It's like you said a minute ago. Yeah, the teens were bad, but the mom did this for a lifetime.
Yeah, like that was her whole life.
Right. Yeah. She's lived this for 16 to 18 years, however old she's supposed to be in this film. I mean. I don't know. I don't think I ever knew what her age was. Either way, she's had a lifetime of crazy to deal with from mom since dad left, and that this mom is the kind of crazy that she doesn't let you forget about it. If you ever do anything wrong one time, 10 years from now, it's still going to be held against you. You can't get forgiven. No, you can pray your sin away. You can la-di-da. You can whatever. In her eyes, it doesn't matter which is. I mean, I'm a Christian. I go to church, not as much as I should, but I know a lot of people like this. They're the ones that, oh, God forgives all and Jesus can save, but I'm never going to forget what you did 15 years ago. La-da-da-da-da. Which. Why are you even here if that's what you believe? I've never really understood that. But those are the people that drive everybody away from church. So go figure. But just the worst kind of Christian.
Some of the coolest people have been people in the horror community. I know we've talked about this.
Yes.
I showed you that picture. I'm like, we all went. We're in this little.
Yes.
Just in Ohio, like just in our state, they have a whole group of people that get together for Halloween stuff, and I'm like, these are some of the coolest, most accepting people I don't even know. I can sit there and talk to them for a few hours. I'm like, the worst people sometimes are the people that go to church every Sunday. I'm just saying it's
weird. That's the thing. Like with this mom, this mom is the type of Christian.
Crazy extremist, yeah, but
right. Well,
however,
this is the kind of mom that goes to the church because she's not going to be accepted anywhere else, and she buys in not because she believes this, but because it makes her feel better. This is what this mom is the kind of Christian of, is what it reminded me of. And I mean, because the minute it doesn't, Carrie does something she doesn't want, like going to the prom, she throws it all out the window. It's a facade. She's not a real Christian. And I'm not persecuting faith. You believe what you want to believe. I could give a crap. But she's the kind of person that puts a bad name to a believing in a faith, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
The loudest people in the room are the ones that are going to vote for you. Like, I get it.
Right.
I'm not saying I'm not saying people are like that. There are people like that.
No, it's the rule of extremes. No. What happens whenever, something happens in a bad inner city neighborhood? They go to the loudest, most crazy person to put on camera. It's the rule of extremes. It's this in film form, Yeah. So.
Yeah. Yeah, let's take a minute to go into the plot. I'll go to your first text. I mean, this is actually a pretty good plot for a movie. Again, it comes from a couple of different angles. Just being a teen under benign circumstances can be kind of an adventure for some people. Then you bring in the bullying, which is kind of something that has always been a thing in high school. And then you add in the telekinesis and the abuse. And this movie does hit from a lot of different places. What did the overall plot work for you for the movie?
Well, the plot works. It for the story that, you know, Stephen King wrote to Brian De Palma, you know, delivering visually here. You can't argue with the plot. Is it my favorite story? No. I to be honest with you, I have no urge to watch a story about a girl getting her period for the first time. I'm good. I'm you know, that's never going to be what I choose. But when you look at the story as an overall, it works. It's, you know, how do you deal with a bully? Well, you punch them in the mouth, or in this case, you pick up a fire hose with your mind and blast them till they die. You know, it's you know, different tools were used. But yeah, I mean, the plot more than works for this film. It's, you know, hell, it's spawned 2 sequels and a play, and it's in the fucking National Congress. I mean, you can't argue with that. So.
Yeah, Jeremy, how about you? Overall, the plot of the story, was it one that you enjoyed?
I mean, I was gonna say I've never been a teenage girl in high school, so I can't say I completely relate, but I mean, I get it. It's something that's kind of a tale as old as time. Like, yeah, people suck. That never stops. So sorry to burst everyone's bubble. But yeah, teenagers, especially teenage girls, they suck. So especially someone, it's like, that's why you sympathize with Carrie right away. Because, like, you know, when she goes back to her mom and says, like, why didn't you tell me? Like, because she freaked out. She thought like something was wrong. She was dying. Like, you know, and it's almost like, yeah, it's not like all these girls. I mean, that's why Miss Collins is the real hero of this movie. Because it's like, you know, you all go through this, right? Like, what the fuck is your problem? Like, like, leave her alone. But like, it's a pretty straightforward plot. Obviously, the thing is, you throw in the, you know, telekinetic devil powers and the ability to burn down your entire senior class in the gym. But hey, you know, just it's kind of a metaphor of like, yeah, you push someone like that to an extreme of to where they snap. And, you know, we saw that like with Joker. That's kind of the whole point of Joker. It's like you have one bad day and you're pushed over the edge and you just snap. So different way to tell it, but I mean, it's, you know, that's what makes it kind of fun.
That is kind of an interesting comparison, though, because her and the Arthur character in Joker are kind of in the similar positions, not the same, but similar. They're both kind of on the fence, and they can be pushed one way or the other. And then obviously it ends up, you know, stuff happens to them each that pushes them over to the dark side.
Both of their moms kind of suck.
Yeah, both their moms are kind of broken on their own.
They both killed their moms in the end. Yeah. So.
And then they both end up taking that out on their kids. But because one of the sad things about it is you see her kind of leaning towards a light side. She's having a good time at the prom. The guy that she's there with, William Katt's characters, he seems to be sincere about wanting to be nice to her, if nothing else.
Yeah.
And she seems to be like headed to a good place. Then the pig's blood, and then, you know, the fire and the chaos and people dying and hoses killing people and busting their eardrums. And you know, so they are kind of in similar situations. For me, like I said, the plot hits you from a lot of different angles. It's not just the teen angsty stuff, which I think everybody kind of gets, whether you're a teen watching it or whether you're somebody our age who's kind of been through it at some level or another. There's a lot of that. And then you add in telekinesis, which is one of those things. It's like, it's very weird. It doesn't actually exist that we know of. So it's hard to understand. There's only really things like this in TV and theories that you can read about where you can kind of figure out what it would be like. So it makes it a little scary because we don't have anything tangible to work with on that kind of stuff. So it kind of twists all this up into a ball of just chaos that you can't really understand until you've watched the movie and you've sat down for a bit to try to process everything you've seen. That's one of the fun things about this movie is as you watch it, you can't really process it all as it's coming at you.
It left turns so fast too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it doesn't go too fast though.
I know it was in slow motion, but you know what I mean. I'm like, it's all.
Well, no. I'm not. You know. Yeah. Well, no, I'm talking about more. I mean, plot wise, I think De Palma took too long getting to the horror part of this film. You know, this movie was 129 minutes. I think it was.
Something like that.
Something like that. Either way, it was. You know, it wasn't I mean, it's not a long film, but
98 minutes, so about an hour,
About an hour
and a half.
yeah, about an hour and a half. So, I could argue a case that this is not a horror film. It's a psychological family drama with horror elements to it.
Yeah, I could.
I mean, realistically, the only horror part in this is a couple minutes at the end. I mean, besides that, she's slamming a window or she's making a cigarette burn faster. It's the beginning of the movie is good. It establishes what you need to know, but I think the middle of this film really drags. Like I said, it's been years since I rewatched it before last night, and I honestly got bored and started playing with my phone in the middle of this movie because there was just too much in the middle for me. And
Damn kids in your phones.
Yeah, kid, I'm older than you, motherfucker. I don't want to hear shit out of you, asshole. So. But I don't know. It was one of those things. Like, I mean, it's like Joe Bob Briggs always says: the only sin a movie can ever commit is being boring. And to me, the middle of this film gets very boring. And it's just it is what it is. But I don't know. I would have liked to see more horror element to it, and let's get to it a little bit quicker.
Well, like I said, I think this is a different kind of horror film. This isn't like a straight up slasher.
Yeah,
I think it's a
No,
slow
of course
burn
not.
because there has to be a little bit more character work, a little bit more dialogue. You take those slower points of the film to build tension for what we will eventually get at the prom, for what we will eventually get at the
Fever pitch
at her house. So you kind of build that tension. And I think it's probably. There's a big difference in the way movies are shot over time. So you talk about how they shoot movies now and how they shoot movies in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you look at this movie compared to something more recent like Evil Dead Rise, there's a certain pace that you have to set in Evil Dead Rise to make sure that people stay interested. Because while that's not a straight up slasher film, that's kind of a supernatural horror as well. I think the audience is much, much different now. So you have to set a certain pace and hit certain beats to make sure that everybody stays engrossed in the film. Whereas back in the 70s, I just think the movie going audience was different.
Well,
I mean, they were okay to sit there and get absorbed into a storyful movie that had blood. You know what I mean?
This is also 76, right? I mean, really, we're starting to hit some of those movies coming out, like Black Christmas, Texas Chainsaw, The Exorcist, I think might have been out. So, I mean, really, this is up there with like the beginnings of getting movies like this. No one ever really seen something like it. So like Frank said, it is kind of a slow burn to a literal burn. But
it's a slow burn. But I mean, we all adore Texas Chainsaw 74. I mean, that came out 2 years before this or a year something. Let's see, Chainsaw came out in
76. So
Chainsaw came out in 74, so 2 years before. Yeah. That's that you could technically call Chainsaw a slow burn as well.
It doesn't really,
but even that film you start out with the crawl, then you get the cemetery, then you go to the gas station. I mean, it builds slower, but the tension, I guess, hits differently. It feels differently, even in the non-slashery elements. Because I mean, hell, I could argue Texas Chainsaw is not a slasher film. You don't ever see, besides Franklin, actually get cut with a chainsaw. He hits more people with a hammer than he does anything.
And you don't even really see Franklin get killed.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's I could argue that's not a slasher either. But
you really don't see anybody get
the slow burn and the tension from Chainsaw compared to this, or even a Halloween, if you want to go with it. It's Carrie. There should have been more horror elements in the middle. I would have liked to have seen, I guess, is my point.
I mean, we start because really it's not about the horror as much as it is about her abilities. Because that's the one thing they don't really focus on is her ability. This movie never even postulates the question of how she got them. She just has them.
It's just there.
Now,
it's just accepted.
Part of that, remember, and I did realize as I was doing a little bit of reading for this, it gets explained a little more in the book, but the movie just doesn't approach it at all.
It's just repressed trauma, I think. I mean,
before
she goes to the prom, she even holds her mom down on the bed. Like, she's like, "Don't you fucking move. Like, I'm going and you're not going to stop me." I was like, damn, like, you kind of want to cheer for her. Like, yeah, fucking tell her. Like, get the hell. Like, she even tells like, look, man, I'm not messing with you anymore, and I'm not taking your shit. So,
I was watching a breakdown of the whole Carrie deal lunch today, and they went into the backstory, like Stephen King wrote in the book. Apparently, in this world, telekinesis is a gene or a trait that only females have, and her mom doesn't have it. It was a recessive gene in her. Her grandmother had it completely, but her dad had the gene in him as well, but he's a male, so he didn't get it, but he was a carrier for it. So whenever Carrie's mother and father got together, they both had the gene inside of them. That's why hers is so prevalent. Like, there's never been one nearly as strong as hers or whatever. So, that's why, her just getting frustrated, she can, burn a cigarette up or whatever. But,
I think she even leaves it off when she's reading in the library, like she's reading like about it. I think she trails off. If you read the rest of the sentence, it does say something about it being genetic. So,
that was.
Yeah,
they go more into it in the book, but the movie doesn't have time to do it, which I don't know why they took freaking forever doing what they did. But
it almost had like a weird. You could almost kind of, I guess, say that like Carrie might kind of be the devil, if like opposite of her mom, kind of trying to be like.
Well, that's obvious what her mom thinks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That might be the case. I was thinking, like my comparison was Freddy Krueger. I'm like, that's the same thing. Like, he was the bastard child of 1,000 like insane inmates. Kind of like, you have someone who is just inherently that evil because of the product of how they were, conceived. Like, I kind of took it like a Freddy Krueger angle almost. Like, that's the same. Well, maybe not quite the same. There's fire involved in both of them, but it's a weird duality with her and her mom. So I'm saying, like, that might have been like she thought like her child was a devil spawn, and she obviously has a lot of regret from what happened initially, like with her with Carrie's father. So
I'm let's see, where am I at? Sorry, I was reading some other stuff.
Why are you talking out? Because there was something there was something else that I noticed. I'm like, I've learned a little more now, even with something to do with Christianity. If you notice at the end, her mom is wearing all white. So I'm wondering if she's trying to be like the saintly kind of person. But like, Carrie's gown is this weird tint of like green almost. And I'm like, I didn't know this, but like,
it looked white on my screen.
I know, like, I don't know if it was just mine, but like a biblical devil wears like green. So I don't know if that was supposed to be like that weird, again, like mirror image of like, oh, she's the devil and her mom is like allegedly a saint, whatever you want to. You're going door to door. I'd also give her $10 to get the hell out of my house too. That was a smart move by that mom. Like, just leave my house, man. Like,
but I mean, then again, I mean, you want to look at the biblical aspect of this. I mean, even like a Cain and Abel. I mean, one killing the other. You can also go with it that way. I mean, we know that the mom from the scene, I mean, she liked the sin. Like I said a minute ago, she liked the whiskey, she liked the sex, whatever, right? Yeah. So you can make an argument, was she the representative of the devil here? That, I mean, Carrie was just born with these powers. She didn't ask for them. She didn't want them. I mean, when you really look at this film, you don't see Carrie do anything that would make you think that she's evil, she's bad. No, these things don't happen until she has an awakening. You know what I mean? And the mom, she kind of already has that evil side no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, she had a fire hazard amount of candles in that house. Like,
yeah. I noticed that too as you were getting into that last scene. I was just like, why would you have 500 candles burning in a house that is obviously a little bit dry rotted and old? It was like, if one of those candles fell over, it would take about 3 seconds for that entire house.
That Last Supper tapestry too was hanging down over them candles. I'm like, son, that's gonna catch on fire.
Yeah. The amount of fire and knives in that house was kind of alarming. I was like, well,
any sharp objects, I guess, just.
I don't think the Sawyers had that many knives in their house, but hey, but you do you. It's all good. So
what do you know? You're just a cook. We
Look
are
what
doing
your
all the work.
Look what your brother did. Well, he don't take no pleasure in killing, but he knows it's necessary.
There's just some things you gotta do. Don't mean you have to like it.
God, I love Texas Chainsaw
I
Massacre.
love that movie.
God, I love that movie. Oh.
Don't skip the meat. The secret's in the meat. Little Texas Chainsaw 2 for you.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the impact on film. I mean, it's really hard for a horror film to jump out at so many of these critics and real hardcore cinephiles, because horror is one of the genres of film that has really driven film for probably 50 to 60 years, going back into the 60s when horror films kind of became a thing. But they've never really gotten love from the from the film community very often, up until Silence of the Lambs kind of ran around, which I don't necessarily consider a horror film.
It's not.
That's psychological.
Yeah, but up until that, this is the one horror film that actually managed to get nominated for multiple Academy Awards. Like I said, both Sissy Spacek and Piper Laurie. Neither one of them won the award, but it did win a couple of awards. It was actually given the National Society of Film Critics Award for Best Actress for Sissy Spacek, not to mention the New York Film Critics Award for Sissy Spacek for Best Actress. So I mean, she was the runner-up. She didn't win it, but I mean, it's one of the first horror movies to get a lot of love from the larger film community. Tex, is this kind of where horror took off as like a legitimate power in the film industry, a legitimate draw?
No, because I mean, even up until the 90s, porn was just barely, or horror was just barely above porn.
Freudian slip. Okay.
I was like,
well, no, I was going for the porn part. I just said porn before because, hey, titties. What are you going to do? So, but no, I mean,
you jumped the gun a little bit there.
Right.
You need to take a few minutes, Tex. You need to tap out for a minute.
I'll have a moment later. I'll be fine. No worries. Okay. But no, horror in that time was very looked. I mean, even in the horror boom of the 80s, it was, look at all the final girls. They never, besides Jamie Lee, they never got noticed. Amy Steele from Friday the 13th never got anywhere. Sally Hardesty, Marilyn Burns never got any love. She never, when people always talk about, oh, well, the first final girl, Jamie Lee. Well, that's bull crap.
It was Sally Hardesty.
I mean, right. It was Sally. So, excuse me.
Texas Chainsaw win.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Horror for you, like I said, I could almost argue that Scream in '96 was the horror film that really brought it to the next level. It got it that acceptance from everybody. I mean, as many great films that came before it, they were looked down upon. You weren't even a C list. You weren't even on the list, unfortunately. But I mean, I don't know. I just, one of those things.
There was that boom of horror movies, more so. Like I would maybe say, like Halloween in '78 kind of started it to get there. And then you get into like 1980 with Friday the 13th, and I think Nightmare.
Yeah,
was like
but they were looked at as.
But no, those
garbage,
were good. But
though.
then, like as it went on, it's like there's so many of them. It's so as the great Ron Burgundy said, the market has become quite saturated. It's like that's why Scream was so good, like you were saying, because it was like, oh my god, it's such a big dry spell. You're like, oh, another movie, some movie about some guy who makes a hooker girlfriend. Wow, that's weird. Okay, so what I mean, then that brought it back. It was like, oh, this makes it fun again. Because at that time, horror movies were kind of like you said, you weren't even on the list. That was kind of seen as like your career was just dead. No pun intended. It was like, you're in a horror movie, okay, so what? So is everybody else.
Well,
like it didn't,
and I know this came beforehand, but I mean, even the actors from Chainsaw, Gunnar Hansen, who played Leatherface, he couldn't get any work. The people who played, the couples in the van, they didn't even put Chainsaw on their resume because it was a career killer. I mean, when Marilyn Burns died, she was selling cell phone service for T-Mobile or somebody down in Houston. She wasn't even acting. She was selling. She was basically at a call center. I mean, this is, the horror, like I said, up even through the 80s was looked down upon. Like Jeremy had said, it wasn't like, oh, I'm in the new Jason flick. No, it's like, oh crap, I'm in another one of these. It was one of those.
It's never really considered like, high art, like whatever.
No.
But the people like us, we love it as part of cinema, period. It's like, but like you're saying, it was never looked at as something that would be considered, worthy of being at the awards as well. It's like, it sucks that it took so long for it to happen. It takes something like Scream to kind of turn it on its head and be meta and make fun of itself, because it's like it's self-aware that like, oh yeah, this is kind of dumb. And then when you get into the early 2000s, you start getting the really gory stuff like in your face, like the remake of Texas Chainsaw. You start getting into the song. Right. That's when it's like that's that new kick that you need. You need to get in people's faces and start tearing limbs off. It's like, oh, we're not playing no more. Like this is it still may be considered some schlocky crap, but I'm like, but it's still fun.
Well, I mean, they always call, well, not always. They used to call New Line Pictures the house that Freddie built.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if it wasn't for those Nightmare movies, New Line Cinema would not have existed. Jason built Paramount. Now he was sold back and forth and whatever. But, they didn't appreciate those films. All throughout the 80s when they were banging them out year after year, doing their thing, they made those so they could go make some art house picture that, all the snooty people could go, oh, well, isn't this distinguished and fine? But it was made off the backs of horror fans. And this is why horror fans like Jeremy and myself get so jaded about this kind of stuff, because we gave you the money to make your stupid movie that nobody saw that won 3 Academy Awards. Like, what the crap, man?
We gave you New Line Cinema, and we gave you Johnny Depp with that Nightmare movie. Damn it!
Right? It was, I mean, Frank is right. I mean, horror has carried Hollywood for decades, but it never got the gratitude or the attention.
It's kind of like the Wild West. It's like the prostitution of the Wild West. You don't realize the effect it actually had, the economy that it was putting into it to keep shit going. I'm like, you don't understand. You can look down on it and be like, oh, that's really kind of not a good life. I'm like, yeah, but you understand what it's doing for you, right?
Right. It's. Me
and Tex are the ones going into the saloon with no shame. Like, yeah, we're going in here and buy a room.
I'm not getting one hooker. I'm getting 3, buddy. I'm gonna have a party. Like, you ain't gonna see me for a whole weekend. All right. I'll see y'all later.
Super crack and have a good old time.
Just bring the whiskey bottle up to the room. Just leave it.
Right. It's
gonna be an explosive good time.
It's all good. Do what you got to do.
Yeah, I'm going to merge these next 2 topics because I know what pretty much everybody's answer is going to be. Let's talk about everybody's favorite scene real quick. I want to say let's not talk about the prom scene because it's just too easy. But I mean, if you guys want to throw it in there, whatever. I'll leave it up to you guys. I mean, we'll talk about the prom scene separately here in a minute. But I mean, and I'll go to Jeremy first. What was your favorite scene in the movie?
Yeah, obviously other than the prom scene. But I would say, as a weird extension of, it's not quite the prom scene, but I will say that like the shot of her just walking down the street and then John Travolta and the girlfriend trying to run her over, and then she just turns and does that multiple zoom shit, and then she just flips that car and explodes that bitch. I'm like, wow, well, there's a fitting end for your main protagonist, like people that were trying to do this to her. Like, god damn, and just like her just in this like daze, just walking back home by herself. I mean, I guess maybe I could kind of roll it into like, when she finally gets home, there's John Travolta. If anybody was confused to who I was trying to imitate, that was it in this movie. That's John Travolta for you.
Look at those lamb chops on the side of his head.
I know, I didn't.
Who even has sideburns anymore?
Yeah, I was like, I don't have the sideburns right now. I'm sorry. And I'm one Scientology less than John Travolta right now, so I'm doing probably better. And I would say like maybe her going home, but like that fever pitch of her getting kind of one-upping her mom. I mean, the cool symbolism of her mom being like pinned up against that wall, like the little figure in her
just like just like the Jesus crucified.
Yeah,
looks exactly like it too. That's actually not Jesus. That's actually
Saint Lawrence.
St. Lawrence, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not.
If that's Jesus, that's the most 80s hair metal Jesus I've ever seen. Yeah.
Yeah, no, the knives are in the same spot. I mean, it's Jesus Christ, man. Kind of literally, but not. And it's like I almost expected Carrie to do like a, since her mom's doing that, I expected her to do like a devil pose, like the one hand up and like the one down or something. And I don't know.
As above, so below.
Isn't she kind of though? I mean,
I was kind of wondering because I'm like, I don't know what that pose is. It's not quite like a crucifixion pose or like I don't know. She almost looks like she's hailing somebody else, but that could also probably be true.
She almost looks like she's dabbing.
Well,
you dab your way into the afterlife, whatever.
I think y'all are discounting.
Maybe when Carrie died, when she fell down, she could have her arm could have gone up, and the other one should have went like down, like the devil's pose, like some. It's over there somewhere. The Pazuzu, like from The Exorcist, just like that.
Yeah,
that'd have been kind of cool. Yeah, I'd say like the after prom. It was wild. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, after prom was awesome. Tex, what were you about to say?
Well, I think y'all are forgetting. Well, there's two scenes that are. Well, one gets an honorable mention, but the honorable mention would be the John Travolta driving down the road, catching the beer from his buddies, and then hiding from the cop because that's just fun. I mean, come on, that was a great scene to watch. But besides that, it's the scene of when the teacher has all the girls out there for gym class and she's just putting them through the ringer, push-ups, sit-ups, burpees, doing this, running in place, la-di-da, whatever. And then when the loudmouth comes up and she slaps the taste out of her mouth. And just the delivery in that dialogue, like that was a great scene. Yeah,
well,
I mean,
why it was
so
great, Tex? That was a real slap.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No,
she actually slapped her.
Yeah, they weren't pulling any punches there. I mean, that was
they were.
I'm only a handprint across your face for the next 3 days, honey. Is what's about to happen here.
That's not acting. Yeah, she
it was, because it's so justified. I mean, that girl was just so horrible the entire movie. It's like everybody has like a collective fist pump, like, all right, got her, and it's just so rewarding at that point.
She's the 1976 Regina George.
Oh yeah.
Well, Tex, I'll go to you next. I don't think you've answered quite yet. What is your favorite scene of the entire movie, other than maybe the whole prom sequence?
That's what I was talking about. That scene, yeah. The scene of the teacher slapping the blonde chick. I love that part. That was my favorite out of all of them.
Yeah, for me, I don't know. It's other than the prom, it's really hard to pick just one because there are some pieces of great dialogue in here. I think I'll just go with the one I've already talked about. The scene where after the prom, she goes home, she's having a conversation with her mom. It's that boiling over. Because you would figure if you're watching this movie for the first time, you would figure that it's going to kind of probably end right about the time that the prom stuff was kind of wrapping up, but then it's like, oh, hey, wait a minute, I still have to go home and kill mom.
Right.
And so that's kind of not. It's not just because there's two different endings here. There's the culmination of her having to deal with the bullies at school, and there's the culmination of her having to deal with this terrible relationship with her mother. And I think there's something poetic, and we kind of saw it in Doctor Strange 2. When Wanda pulls the whole thing down herself, it's kind of that same moment where she's like, I would really rather die than have to live as this, not understanding what I am, being as broken as I know I am. It is that one, forget the term, coming to Jesus moment where she's just
she knows she's the villain. Yeah.
Yeah, this probably really is the best thing for me. So, and really for her mom, it's like, we're both miserable. Isn't it just best if we just don't live anymore? And while I don't want to promote suicide, of course, it's not what I'm trying to go after. Just for this character and the world that she inhabits in her situation, that really is kind of a logical ending that she sees. So when you see the house kind of collapsing in on itself and burning, it is kind of this. She's burning herself in effigy a little bit, to use a term that's used in the Bible a little bit. She is kind of she's emaciating. Emulsifying. It starts with a he. Something like that when you set yourself on fire. But that's kind of what she's doing. There's a visual to that is a lot
engulfing.
No, not engulfing. There's a word. I forget what the hell it is.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I was emulating. I forget what it's called.
I was gonna say
it's mentioned in the Bible. I forget what the hell it is, but you set yourself on fire.
That like that scene you were talking about, Frank. It's like it has that kind of like something that I actually do find as a genuine jump scare, not jump scare, but a genuine kind of scare. It's like if you're not watching, when she walks into the bathroom, her mom is just like right there behind the door, just fucking like staring out into space.
Yeah.
It's like she doesn't even see her. It's like she's still probably coming down from this whole thing, but her mom's just standing there, and it's like if you don't catch it, you're like, oh shit, she's just standing there behind the door to the bathroom. You know, like the original Ring did that when she's watching the videotape at that guy's house. The guy, like, you don't need sound, you don't need but the guy was just the old man was just standing over her. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, like that'll scare you.
Jesus, keep on Twitter.
Or The Descent. Like they don't make any. They're just all of a sudden there's the monster whoop, right behind their head. That's how you do a good jump scare. You don't have to have any build up, no noise. Just put it in frame, like Michael Myers sticking out of the bush. And if you don't call attention to it, if someone sees it, they'll see it and they'll freak out. Like that's just me.
Well, I mean,
it gives you chills. I'm saying it's just chills. She's just standing there.
Audiences have been so trained to, the music will tell me when something scary is going to happen. I don't have to pay attention.
You know when it's going to happen. Yeah.
One of my favorite, jump scares out of nowhere all time is from The Strangers. Whenever you see Liv Tyler standing there at the edge of the kitchen or whatever, and
they're just like
the dad, he just like his out of the blackness from behind her, his mask just pops up.
Mm-hmm.
No music, no sound. You can watch it and miss it. It's literally in front of your eyes, and then you're like, "Oh my God, they're in the house!" And then he just backs out quietly. You don't know if he's back outside. Is he still in the house? We don't know what's going on. That is one of the best of all time. If you haven't seen The Strangers, go watch that one. The Strangers is one I would put up for review as well, because that's one of the greatest modern horror films ever made of the since the 2000s. But
I was gonna say, because what I did in the haunt I work at. There's music, there's crap going off, but I would do this. There's a doorway. It's in the dark, complete dark. And I have this little mask. And all I would do is I would just turn this bitch on. I'd just poke my head out with this on, I would do that. I'll just look at him, and then as soon as I would do the fast one, I'd start running at people. That's all you gotta do. It's super simple. I also love this mask, by the way. It's like $5 at Walmart. It's the coolest little battery pack. All you do is just, in the pitch dark with a chainsaw. That'll scare the shit out of somebody.
I need one of those.
Hilariously,
I wore this on the 4th of July because it's kind of like the Purge mask. I'm like, screw it. Why not? America.
God,
now we know what
you're going
to be wearing down the Purge.
And a baseball bat.
I'll be wearing my first victim. I'm going to honor my home state, little Leatherface. I'm going to have to kill somebody. I'm going to wear their face on my face. They're going to be my first victim will be my Purge mask. I've already got that figured out. So,
you know what sucks is because we're from Ohio and ours is Freddy Krueger. I get Freddy Krueger, so I gotta have some finger knives and
Sixes say, yours is going to be teenagers. So good luck explaining. At least I can kill grown folk, So I get to kill hippies and bikers. I get to be cool, so I'm down. So it's all good.
Teenagers is so annoying these days. I don't know if anybody would blame them. When we were all teenagers, we were pretty cool. Teenagers nowadays are kind of douchebags.
Well, yeah.
I'll just find a striped sweater and a hat. I'll figure it out.
Real quick, I got a text because I know he's probably got a couple that he wants to select from. What was your least favorite scene of the entire film?
The opening. I don't need to see you having your period. That's gross. Just turn that shit off. No, thank you. I don't need to see that. But besides that, whatever. Just that. Besides the boobs in the opening, we don't need to see you bleeding out of your, womanly areas for I was going to use a different word, but it'd probably piss a lot of the women off, so I'll have to edit myself on that one. But yeah, so I don't need that opening. You know what I mean?
I think that kind of establishes her though a little more.
I'm like, that's the whole cataclysm. That's the whole like, oh shit.
Yeah, but I'm not watching the Lifetime Network. I don't need to hear about your period, honey. Go take a Midol and shut up. All right, that's just that's kind of how I feel about it. So, one of those things.
If Jesus will allow that, I'm sure. Yes.
Well, go pray about it and see if you can take a Tylenol, maybe. I don't know. You figure it out. Just go get you a chocolate bar and get you a Kotex. You'll be fine. It'll be all right.
It's the age old fix of I've been out like hiking in the woods. You take some Tylenol, you drink some water, you get over it. That's all you can do.
Well, you don't want to take Carrie out there when she's ragging with that period. It will attract bears. I mean, you have to watch out for that one too. So
bears can smell the menstruation. I knew it was going there.
Me and Jeremy have been quoting that movie for 10 years now.
Oh yeah,
at least.
Oh yeah. And with my previous comments, I have pissed off every female fan, all three of them of this show. So I have succeeded in what I came here to do. So you're welcome. So.
I mean, I'm kind of like, I guess, like I said, we weren't teenage girls at any point, so
right.
I can't say I relate. I'm just saying I know that teenagers do suck, and they do terrible shit, and I can't imagine how that's gotta suck, man. That's the damn day, and in that situation, that has to be the worst timing ever. I mean, God works in mysterious ways or whatever. But
I will give Carrie credit for one thing. Yes, they obviously this whole thing is linked to the woman time of the month and changing all that. It's not the only horror film to ever do it, but Brian De Palma handled it gracefully. Now, whereas if you watch something like Ginger Snaps, the werewolf movie, that's nothing but a tampon commercial. That's what that whole movie is. I can't stand that film. It's just a terrible movie. It's edgy. They're trying to make it like it's this weird edgy thing. Oh, I'm a woman now. Blah, blah, blah. Who gives a crap? You're a bad werewolf movie. Go away. But
go away now.
Yes. Oh, and shout out to Critical Drinker. You're my homeboy, so you're cool.
Thanks, Critical Drinker, for that.
Yes. So.
Yeah. Jeremy, how about you? One scene of the movie you just really didn't like.
It's only because it's so goddamn goofy. Like, are you gonna tell me that dude got bonked on the head by a bucket and died? I mean, I'm sure he died when the gym burned down, but I'm like, he just got like conked on the head by a bucket and that was it. Come on, bro. Like, I don't know. Nothing that really sticks out to me that I didn't. I mean, that could be my de facto answer, I guess. It just kind of seems.
I lost text somewhere.
Well, he said he needed a minute, I guess. So it's while I'm going to talk, he'll go take care of that. Yeah, maybe it just seems a little underwhelming that, like, I don't know, he just kind of got knocked out by a bucket. I don't know. No, not a whole lot I don't like about this movie, to be fair. So. Maybe because I'm like, oh, I know the ending was a dream, but it's like, but was it? Because you have a obviously not loved or very well liked sequel, and there's a TV movie, and then I have not actually.
I didn't hate the sequel. I thought it was it wasn't nearly as good in my opinion, but
yeah,
for having come out 200 years later or something like that.
It was like 99. It was like 20 some years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't see the remake with Chloe Grace Moretz, but I've heard it's really good. I'm like, I'm not opposed to watching it. I'm, like I said, with a pretty straightforward plot line like this, like it pretty well follows the same thing, and I'm sure it probably looks a little better, a little more polished. So, no, I don't know. Maybe just dude getting kind of underhanded kill.
Yeah, for me it was the whole scene where her mom shows up at the one girl's house to like proselytize. I'm like, you look like a Jehovah's Witness, not a psycho crazy woman right now.
Yeah,
that wasn't really a good introduction for the character, in my opinion. Because I mean, she knocks on the door, she's selling some pamphlets or whatever, and finally the lady is just like, whatever, here's $10, go away.
Here's $10, get out. Yeah.
I'm like, she looked like a Jehovah's Witness and not a psychotic mom who was abusing her kid. I really feel like cutting that scene out and letting her introduction in the film be her, just wearing
abusing
out.
her.
wearing out, Carrie and being abusive to her. That would have been a better intro, because from the moment we first see her character on screen, we would have gotten that exposure as to what she really was. It's not like I'm seeing her handing out pamphlets, like I said, like some traveling preacher. And then the next time we see her, she's, candles in the house and throwing Carrie inside the prayer room and all that. It just didn't really fit for me.
I think it's supposed to give her like that two-faced kind of facade that, like, I mean, even though right where she's at, she's that fanatic that does go door to door trying to pray to her neighbors, and it's like, oh my God, lady, go away. But then you peel back that layer of seeing how she treats Carrie at home. It's like, oh God, she's so much worse.
Okay, well, question about that though. Do you think Carrie's mom knew that she had those powers?
I think maybe she was afraid of it, but I don't think she knew.
I don't think she knew. I just think she was psycho and was abusing her daughter psychologically, and it just happened to coincide with.
Well, I'm not discounting the horrible mom that she was, but it kind of felt like, because the religious part of the mom's whole deal, I think that's where I think the mom knew, because like I said, in the book it states that her mom had it, so she would have seen it before. She, we don't see this in the film, but I'm pulling that from there. I think the mom knew that it was at least a potential, and then when she obviously started seeing windows slam and whatever,
because now she's like, the devil's working through you. The devil's trying to,
right. I think the reason why she acts so severe is, yes, she's an abusive mom. She's a horrible person, but I think she at least was on the watch out for this. I think that there's at least a potential of it.
There's a potential, but like I said, they approach how she is telekinetic in the book, but they don't touch on it at all in the movie. So if you're like me and you haven't read the book, you just read synopsis of it, like the cliff notes of it. I mean, so we know, but it's like if you just saw the movie cold, never having read this or any other Stephen King book, you wouldn't have known. I don't think that's part of the movie.
I don't know. It was a theory that I got when I was watching last night, because it's.
That's the thing with being religious like that. Is you have something to explain it. Like that, like I said, she was also like, "Oh, now the devil's here. He's working through you now." It's like, oh God damn it.
Well, it was kind of the whole, like, what did they do to witches in, Salem? They burned them or whatever, right? So, I mean, obviously there's, it calls back to that. And I thought it was kind of funny how the one who was hunting the witch got burned alive. Not alive, but, whatever. But it feels like there's something more to that. Like they were hinting at, in like a subtext kind of thing. But, maybe if you picked up on it, maybe you didn't, whatever. It was, case by case thing.
Yeah, but now let's break down that prom scene. I mean, that scene is epic by just about every measure, modern or from back in the mid 70s. I mean, visually, the scene is just it's striking in almost visceral. Every way. It really, it is very visceral. It really only starts with the whole bucket of blood thing. That's kind of the beginning of it all, but it's not.
I don't know. It's pretty hardcore watching them how they get that blood. Smash them. I mean, I know you don't get to see it, but when they're going to get the pigs before that, I mean, that was pretty gnarly too. You know what I mean?
Hey, John Travolta took some notes from Texas Chainsaw. With a slash. It was quicker that way.
And I thought that was kind of interesting, because it does kind of show that not only are these kids mean, but they're kind of psychotic in their own right. Because what teenager would just walk into a farm or whatever and just bash a pig and steal its blood, even for something like this? These kids are not just mean kids. They're not just mean girls in the movie. They are kind of, in a way, they're kind of broken on their own. And Amy, or not Amy, was it Amy Irving? Yeah, Amy Irving's character. She's kind of the only one who's not absolutely broken. It's like she tends to have seems to have a little bit of empathy and a little bit of sorrow for like the small role that she's played in it. But I mean, you look at Nancy Allen, it's like she is just a bitch from the jump, and she acts out. It's several times, not even just in Carrie, like the scene where she's in gym class detention, which I thought was hilarious as hell.
Well, she got tired of she flat out calls her "shut up, Christy" or Chrissy or whatever she says. I mean, she's tired of her crap. she was the type that I'm friends with you because you're the popular girl, and that it's completely superficial. She didn't have her back. They weren't truly friends. Nobody cared about each other like that. But I mean,
because she turns around and says, like, if we stick together, and they're all like, we're not helping you. What the hell?
Right. It's and it's to be fair, that friend didn't really do anything bad to Carrie. She was just part of the group that did, which I felt was good, because I mean, if we had seen her kicking her and pushing her down the hall or something, it would have been a little bit worse. But she tried to save her. Her and the teacher tried to save, and unfortunately, they paid the consequence. But it is what it is.
Even the act of having her boyfriend go and ask Carrie out to prom was not done because she was trying to help set Carrie up for what would eventually happen. That was done very much out of her feeling sorry for her party, for her wanting to try to help, Carrie,
give her a good time.
To put her over in a sense and show her a good night, kind of showing kindness with her human being, and it ended up being ruined, of course, by Nancy Allen's terrible character.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, the way that whole scene is shot, my God, it gave us one of the most iconic images, not just in horror but in film, which is stunning. Is that not one of the? If I didn't know anything about this movie and saw this picture, I'd be like, I have to see this damn movie. Like, that's a great shot right there. I love it.
That's been posters. I've seen like enamel pins made out of that. That's the image. I mean, I've seen that on T-shirts. It's on everything. It's, like I said, it's the one horror moment in this whole movie, and that's why it's a very powerful image.
Yeah, that's what my girlfriend looks like every time I talk back to her.
That's the moments taken right before disaster.
And that's your blood she's wearing instead of pigs.
Usually.
Yeah.
But that is really kind of an important moment, the most important moment of the movie, because we go from this where Carrie is finally achieving a little like this moment that she's been longing for after being picked on by the bitch girls, to this. And and that's the big, like, the switch was flipped. That's when her powers really come out. And then we get another one of probably the most iconic. I mean, the whole her, like, with the fire in the background covered in blood. I mean, just like the other one, that's one of the, like, prime horror images that you have if you're a fan of cinema is this image right here. It's so stunning.
I was going to say, Rachel, actually, we just watched this before we came on here. That's the first time she'd actually seen the original. She's seen the remake. That's exactly what she said. She was like, Jesus, like the way she just slowly and just methodically walked through that fucking gym that was on fire, just like walking straight ahead. It's like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, yeah, I know. That's she's not there anymore, man. Like, Danny's not here, Mrs. Torrance. Neither is Carrie White. She's gone.
Yeah, no doubt. But yeah, I mean, that whole scene is just epic from start to finish. And look, the 1999 sequel, it wasn't terrible, but that did not. It was visually, it was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie.
The CGI doesn't hold up in the Rage Carrie 2 nearly as much. It's that crappy 1999 CGI that look. It takes you. It's not a bad. The coolest part about the one in the Rage Carrie 2 is watching the thorns from the tattoo wrap around all of her body. That's my favorite part about all that. That looks so cool. I've seen girls cosplay that before, and it looks really cool. Like they do, like they'll draw the tattoo on their arms and their face and neck and whatever. But this whole scene here in Carrie 76 though, it's the not acting that Sissy Spacek does that makes it so special. If she had overacted it, it would have been cheesy, but she doesn't. She just
it's the simplest thing. That's what does it. That's what's so cool though.
Yeah. It's almost like she's another personality. It's like she's somebody else. She's not Carrie White. She's not here. It's like the devil has consumed her. It's like we're going to need some exorcism after this is done, which you could argue a case for as well. But it's just the simplicity of just walking, very intimidating. This 90-pound girl in that scene, like, okay, you're not to be played with.
Yeah, but again, there's a reason why that was listed on the all these lists of great movie moments, great scary moments. I mean, that's one of the iconic scenes, not just in horror but all of cinema. It's very, even if you're not a fan of horror, it's such an engrossing scene to watch. The pacing of it I thought was awesome. The fire, I like how the fire kind of backlights her for a good portion of that whole sequence, because she looks almost like a ghost. You don't really get to see her face at some points. Right. Like, I don't know if I have that picture of it, but
I sent you
kind of in this one, but kind of in this one. Yeah, I don't think I think I ended up finding some of those pictures online, but it's like the way that Hazy looked. She's kind of backlit. She almost looks like a ghost or ghostly. And I think it kind of adds to the chaos and to the destruction and the death of the moment that is happening in that moment. I think it makes it that much more engrossing to watch. But let's get into some of the trivia now. And boy, do I have a couple of doozies. Oddly enough, Nancy Allen claims that she never realized her character was going to be so evil until she saw the finished film. She thought that she and John Travolta were playing such self-centered, bickering morons that they were there for comic relief. Piper Laurie, who plays her mother, also thought the character of Margaret White was so over the top that the film was going to be more of a comedy. Quite the opposite. There was like one or two kind of laughs, like the teacher slapping the girls around, kind of made me giggle. But for the most part, there was not really a lot of comic relief in this movie at all. It really is that pure supernatural horror film. I don't know. What do you guys think of that little tidbit of knowledge?
I know it's a little different when like you film something. You're not quite always. I mean, a lot of movies don't go start to finish. You don't film that way. You do whatever scenes you're going to do what day, and you play it. I mean, I don't know how you think it's just you're being a bumbling idiot when you're the one pulling a thing of pig's blood onto some poor girl's head. But I mean, whatever. Different strides for different people, I guess. But like, I can see where like the goofy shit when they're in the car together, and like Tex was saying, like him. John Travolta getting the beer and then just dicking around and driving, like that I could see. I'm like, because you're not really, I don't know. I don't know how you.
Well, that was his whole motivation in this movie was beer drinker.
Yeah, you don't really.
Literally, that's all that he does. I mean, whether he's looking at his girlfriend while he's driving down the road till his buddy throws him a cold one, or he's sitting back behind the bleachers. Once again, drinking while his girlfriend has the rope in her hand. I mean, he wasn't. I don't think he was sober enough to be killed for what happened to Carrie. I don't think he knew what happened, to be completely honest with you. But sometimes the funniest people don't even realize how funny they actually are. That's kind of what makes it good, is because they just do.
I think in his case, it was a lot of guilt by association.
Yeah.
But he does go and get the blood. He is
the one who kills the pigs.
He does help her set up the whole gag. So he's not entirely innocent.
He does.
I'm not saying he's innocent. I think he's just the stupid boyfriend that wants to do what the girlfriend says. So maybe he gets lucky, and he just drinks a lot.
Yeah.
He never seems malicious in this film. I mean, it's just I don't know. It's
Well, I was gonna say, to go quickly for a second back to Chainsaw Massacre. It's like, well, what's her name didn't even realize the girl who played Pam that she became that iconic shot, that real low shot where it just falls right behind her ass. And
she was great shot!
Because she was like, oh my god! Like when she saw it in theater, she's like, oh my god, I didn't know they even did that. But she's since been like, I think she has like a picture of it, like in whatever she does now for a living, like it was a business or something. Now she thinks it's funny. She's like, no, that's great, keep that up there. I'm like, I'm glad you're a good sport about it. But she was like, oh my god, I didn't realize they were just gonna in cinema scope widescreen. They were just my cheeks right on screen. I was like, right.
Texas Chainsaw was Toby Hooper meant for it to be a black comedy. That's why, I mean, so many people don't pick up on it. I mean, there's a lot of similarities in this film.
Leatherface is the victim. Damn it! It's a home invasion movie. Is what it is.
He is. It's a home. It's Home Alone with a chainsaw. Is all it is. They're the same movie.
A couple of hammers and some meat hooks. That's the dark comedy. Is them trying to get Grandpa to fucking do the hammer and he can't. Hit her, Grandpa. I don't know.
Let's see. The ending of the movie is different than the ending from the novel. We've talked about this already. In fact, Stephen King actually liked the ending of the movie better than he liked the ending of his own book, which is really odd because
he hates The Shining.
Stephen King is not known for liking the film adaptations of his books, even though he usually has a most of them anyway. He has a cameo.
Yeah,
it's not like he could do any better. We've all seen Maximum Overdrive, so
yeah.
God damn it.
I'll give you kind of an idea as to how the movie ends. It does end in kind of a weird way. As I'm reading the plot, it says Sue, let's see, outside, Carrie remembers her telekinesis and decides to enact vengeance on her tormentors, which is basically where we would end up getting the prom scene. Let's see. Only a few lucky staff and students escape. Carrie, overwhelmed by rage, thwarts an incoming effort to fight the fire by opening the hydrants in the school's vicinity and destroys gas stations and cuts power lines on her way home. So we only really see her walking home in the movie. She did a lot more. Yeah, in the book, she unleashes her telekinetic powers on the entire town, destroying several buildings and killing hundreds of people as she does this. I think that might have been kind of a cooler ending.
I think they said they didn't have the budget for it. I'm like, but my God, if you did, that would have been awesome.
Makes sense. Yeah. As she does this, she broadcasts a telepathic message showing the townspeople that the carnage was caused by her. Carrie returns home to confront Margaret, who believes Carrie has been possessed by Satan and must be killed. That's kind of where it comes from in the movie. Margaret tells her the conception was the result of what may have been marital rape, kind of what we got in the movie. She stabs Carrie in the shoulder with a kitchen knife. Carrie halts Margaret's heart as she says a prayer. Mortally wounded, Carrie makes her way to the roadhouse where she was conceived. She sees Chris and Billy. Roadhouse. She sees Chris and Billy, having been informed of the destruction by one of Billy's friends. After Billy attempts to run Carrie over, she takes control of his car and sends it into a wall, killing Billy and Chris. We kind of get that played out in the movie. Sue, who had been following Carrie's broadcast, finds her collapsed in a parking lot, bleeding from a knife wound. The two have a brief telepathic conversation, which is interesting. Carrie had believed that Sue and Tommy had set up the prank, but realizes they were innocent. Carrie dies, crying out for her mother. A state of emergency is declared, and the survivors make plans to relocate. Chamberlain, one of the characters, foresees desolation in spite of the government assisting on rehabilitating the worker districts. Desjardins, who was actually that's the name of the gym teacher in the book. They changed it for the movie to Miss Collins. And the school's principal blame themselves for the disaster and resign from teaching. She publishes a memoir based on her experiences. A white committee, they would call it something different in real life, report investigating paranormal abilities concludes that there was, so basically like a government committee is what it is. It's called the White Committee, based, of course, on Carrie White. Investigating paranormal abilities concludes that there will be others like Carrie. An Appalachian woman enthusiastically writes to her sister about her baby daughter's telekinetic powers and reminisces about their grandmother who had similar abilities, and that's how the book ends. So a very different ending to the book than what we would get in the film. There are aspects that I just read that I think would have been interesting to see on film, but again, probably didn't have a great budget. It was 1970 something. They weren't spending $200 million on movies.
Was it 1.5? What did you say it was? 1 point something?
Yeah. 1.5. Let's see, but 1.8. I'm sorry, $34.8 million at the box office on a $1.8 million budget.
Wow,
which,
that's a success. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, a $1.8 million budget now would be roughly. It still wouldn't be a huge number. It'd be roughly about $10 million today.
Yeah, it's still kind of low.
But I mean, but that would also be a $400 or $500 million grossing movie, which is not that, especially for a relatively low budget film that people weren't expecting a lot of.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, that's interesting that Stephen King liked it, because I mean, ever since then he's been so critical of some of the film adaptations of his books. Maybe we got to remember though, this was also the first movie made from his book, and
his first
book that he got published.
Yeah,
I think so. Maybe at the time he was just glad to have his book option and turn into a movie. Yeah. And then as he got to be more and more successful, then he got to be more and more of an asshole about the way his stories were being turned into movies. I don't know, maybe that's it, but he's kind of a weirdo anyway.
Yeah, a little bit.
Talking about the prom scene took over 2 weeks to shoot and required a total of 35 takes. The 2 weeks makes sense. 35 takes doesn't sound like a lot, though.
I think, well, they were talking about, I mean, I watched, again, if anyone who, you like horror, go watch Dead Meat. They do kill counts for all these horror movies.
Oh, yeah.
I think he even talked about that shot. It's really impressive. It's this one shot of, like, they start at Carrie and Tommy's table. They go around following Red Hat bitch, collecting ballots. And then she goes all one shot. Goes over to her boyfriend, makes out with him. They swap the ballots. They go over. She goes to the table, comes back. Then you follow the line up to the bucket of blood, and you look down. And as soon as they announce, you look right back at where the shot started, where Carrie and Tommy are sitting. It's like you realize this is like you don't have special effects or any kind of cranes and camera equipment you have now. That had to have been a bitch to do. And they're like, that single-handedly took a lot of time to make that one unbroken shot. And just from a technical aspect, they're like, yeah, they filmed some stuff at a high school, but they had to make a whole soundstage and burn the whole thing down. So it's a lot of setup and there's a lot of crap going on. There's a lot of people moving around and trying to make it seem like a convincing prom. And I can imagine there's a lot that goes into just trying to do something like that. So it doesn't seem out of left field.
One of the people that you've been sullying the virtues of, Tex, initially PJ Souls was only cast for 2 weeks. But after she hit Sissy Spacek over the head with her red baseball hat during the volleyball scene, Brian De Palma decided to keep her around longer.
Hey, I tell you that, I mean, I wore a hat to my prom, but it was a cowboy hat, and it was a little more fancier than an old red ball cap. That's a little different. That's dedication. You know what I mean? So that, she knew, I mean, everybody in high school had a thing, right? You were the party guy, you were the weed guy, you were the nerd, you were the whatever. She was the hat girl. She had to stick with her, role, what she was in high school. So.
I mean, did you see those god-awful micro bangs she has? I mean, I'd be hiding them too.
Yeah, she may have been hiding a bad haircut. Maybe her hairdresser didn't like her and, took her revenge out.
I don't think she did, yeah. You can see she got like little bangs that are like that big. They're going cut straight across her forehead. I'm like, Jesus.
Right, yeah. That was, those bangs are unfortunate. But, I don't know. PJ Souls, she's horror royalty. I mean, she's no Jamie Lee, she's no Sydney, but first Halloween, she gets choked out. You know what I mean? So it is what it is.
She gets put the one with the Judith Myers gravestone, right, on the bed.
Yeah, she gets. Let's see, she loses her. She has to wash her pants in the original Halloween, and then Myers gets her. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah,
I thought she was the one that I thought she was the one with Bob, because didn't he come back in with the bed sheet and then like he killed her on the bed?
Oh yeah. You're right. Never mind. Sorry, I'm mixing deaths up in Halloween. It's been a while since I've seen 78, but either way, no. PJ Souls, big name in the horror world. Like I said, she never really did much Hollywood wise, but she's appreciated in our world, so that's all that really matters anyways. So
she did have an interesting story to tell back in 2010 in an interview with the AV Club. PJ Souls said that Steven Spielberg often came to the set at Brian De Palma's invitation because De Palma told him, quote, there are a lot of cute girls down here. Souls said that Spielberg asked out most of the women on the set, Souls included, and Amy Irving was the only one who accepted. Irving and Spielberg were married from 1985 to 1989, had one son together.
Wow.
That's. I mean, I would say that's kind of a funny little anecdote, but with the knowing what we know now about Me Too and the history of women over its over its entire history, maybe that's not a cute little story anymore.
So you're gonna say, do we need to cancel Steven Spielberg? I mean, he's kind of a big deal. We're gonna have to have some pretty hard evidence to take that one down. But
it kind of makes sense. I mean, he made Jaws in '75, right? It's around that time, and he was, as he said, he's like, I was just some dumb kid in his 20s trying to make some movie that I didn't think was gonna go anywhere. I'm like, well, yeah, man. So whatever, shoot your shot, I guess, man. I don't know.
Yeah, you never know how long your fame's gonna last in Hollywood.
Yeah, so I mean, you could,
but
they're all laughing. They're all laughing at you now.
Yeah, they're all gonna laugh at you. Many of the girls present in the locker room were originally hesitant to appear nude in the film, but after Brian De Palma showed them nude shots of Sissy Spacek, they became more confident. I find it odd that he just had nude shots of Sissy Spacek.
So say, how did he personally? De Palma and Spacek? No.
Spacek was married, at least at the time, she was married to
It was
I
one of the
think
guys.
she was married to the art director or something like that.
Yeah, I was like, she was married to one of the people who worked on the movie, and like they said, like he was there with her during that scene to kind of help her along. So it's kind of like, oh, she's doing it too, and she feels comfortable. You know, everybody's kind of holding everybody's hand in this scene to kind of be like, all right, let's do this. So
she married production designer and director Jack Fisk in '74 after they met on the set of Badlands. They have 2 daughters. One was born in '82 and one was born in '88.
That's another good movie. Go watch Badlands.
Like,
that's actually about it's actually a true crime film of a couple that murdered a bunch of people. But yeah, go watch that one.
I'm saying Spacek and that dude, they've been married like ever since. So
he is still married to Jack Fisk.
Yeah, so that's hey, that's cool. You're pushing like 50-some years of marriage now, so yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, but so yeah, he was the art director of the picture. But yeah, I found that interesting. You know, let's talk John Travolta for a minute. You know, I don't know if you guys have noticed or not. This is something that just popped into my head. As I was pulling up some images from the internet, there's a lot of like the DVD and VHS images, like the covers, and they'll say Sissy Spacek, starring Sissy Spacek and John Travolta. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, those must have all been printed like in the last 15 or 20 years.
Yeah, because there's no way.
Yeah.
John Travolta, while already fairly famous, was not the name that he would eventually become. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm like, you market it that way. I was going to say, right here, the one we watched, boom, it says it right there.
Yeah.
Right.
I was like, right, but you didn't understand yet that guy wasn't even going to be something just yet. So.
But as they're reprinting that movie on DVD, probably around the 2000s, they were like, oh, we should go ahead and put John Travolta in.
I think the thing that was kind of cool, there was like a little shot at the end of like Carrie and her mom, and it says like original 1976 and like 2001 or something. So I think it was like 2001 when it was printed. So
yeah, some sort of anniversary copy or special edition or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But on the note of John Travolta, he auditioned while he was on a lunch break from filming Welcome Back, Kotter. He actually showed up for his audition for this film, still dressed as Vinnie Barbarino.
Wow.
All right.
Hey, fitting timing, yeah.
I need to find Welcome Back, Kotter somewhere just to watch a couple episodes. Because I know I've seen
Looking good, Mr. Carter.
What a great show. I mean, it gave us John Travolta.
Yeah.
Let's see. The editor of the film, a man named Paul Hirsch, his credit appears the same time as Nancy Allen appears in the locker room, full frontal. Paul recalls his friends coming up to him and asking, "How come your name isn't in the movie?"
Right.
Because they were slightly distracted.
Nice.
When his name popped out. I mean, that kind of makes sense. Look, like I said, we were talking earlier about how there's on YouTube, I guess they have the opening scene of the girls' locker room where they've got towels and whatnot. And there's some smoke, or not smoke, but the steam that's put in to cover certain body parts.
Mm-hmm.
The one I watched on Tubi had none of that editing. I mean,
this movie didn't have it either. No,
it was a 70s full frontal fest of all kinds of naked supposed teenagers, which now
they're all their
20s. It's actually kind of disturbing, but they were all naked.
So I was gonna say that none of these. I mean, like I said, John Travolta had full on 5 o'clock shadow the entire time he was in this movie. None of those ladies were teenagers; those were full grown adults you're watching.
I was gonna say we all accept the fact that like. We watched the original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, and we're like, those are definitely high schoolers. They're not like 30 years old. You look at it now, you're like, oh my God, you don't look like teenagers at all.
Well, dude, go back to like 90210. They look 35. I mean, it's one of those things. It's,
Okay, real quick before I get to the next one, let's play Guess the Body Count. Go in the chat. I'll ask the guys here in a minute, but go in the chat and let me know how many deaths actually happened in this movie that you can remember, and we'll get to that in just a second.
I was gonna say that's not fair. I just watched the kill count. I know how many died.
But you know what though? You've quoted kill count before and you've been off. So maybe kill count.
But his joke, hold on, because he hates this kind of movie where he's like, I gotta get this wide shot and I count every one of these fuckers. He's like, wait, the Rage Carrie 2 tells you exactly how many people died. So I guess thank you.
See, that's the thing. How many people were in that freaking gym?
About.
Oh Jesus! They
said like 75 or 76 people died, but it was like 60 of them are like the students. 60 something are the students.
Yeah.
So if you're not including like Carrie and her mom, yeah, I'll stick with 75. I just watched it. I feel like I should remember. Open another tab, totally not like on this screen, and be like, what was it? You know what? Here, my hands are up here. I will say 75, just as a base.
Hold on, we're not there yet. We'll get there.
That's right.
But we'll get that. I got a couple more pieces of trivia to read before we get to that part. So go in the chat. Let us know what you guys think the actual body count was in this film. But Piper Laurie said that the wounds her character, Margaret White, inflicts on herself towards the end of the film were not created by makeup. Now, I'm not talking about these wounds where
the one on her face.
I think maybe the one on her face. So I'm not talking about these wounds where Carrie uses her telekinesis to stab her with all the knives and implements in the kitchen. There was a wound that she apparently gives to herself towards the end of the movie, which I'm not remembering off the top of my head, but I'm sure it probably happened. I just missed it. But yeah, I think that was interesting. How did the wound get there if not created by makeup? Did she old school wrestler style jig herself or something, razor blade right across the head?
Was it when she was having her little freak out about Carrie going to the prom and she's like trying to hurt herself? Did she like scratch her face in the process? Because it showed up like after that, I thought.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm gonna say she would have had to done it herself, or somebody did it to her. Either way.
That's the Amy Irving, who played Sue Snell, was the only cast member who reprised her role in the sequel, The Rage Carrie 2. And if you've seen that movie, you know she actually gets it at the end too. So eventually, the crazy girl with telekinesis gets her.
Yeah. Huh.
Let's see. Yeah, something that Jeremy alluded to earlier. When the fire hose was sprayed at PJ Soul's character, the water pressure actually burst the actress' eardrums.
Yeah.
Soul was not actually unconscious when her head rolled to the side from the force of the fire hose, but she was in terrible pain and had lost her ability to maintain equilibrium, which is governed by the ear. Brian De Palma decided to keep the shot in. Soul says she had no hearing in that ear for about 6 months afterward, though the eardrums did eventually heal.
Yeah, I was gonna say, she's like, that shot is the shot. Like, she's like, I just slumped over because I couldn't. I think even she was saying like the fire department was like, no, we shouldn't do that. And Brian De Palma was like, no, we got to make it look real. And it's like, well, that was pretty damn real then. Oh man, you don't understand the force water has, man. Sometimes that's crazy.
They cut metal with water.
Yeah,
I mean, water is sand and it can cut metal.
Pressure washing is no joke. Yeah.
Do we need to use the Grand Canyon as the prime example here of what water can do people? Yeah. So, just saying.
That's a great time in the 70s when you leave in a shot that injures somebody, like in The Exorcist. When the mom goes down on the ground, she screams. Like, no, she screamed because she fucked her back up.
Right.
Jesus.
Are you guys ready? Have you made your guesses yet? Now, remember, this is according to IMDb, and I think they're only counting the people that were directly killed by Carrie in like an individual act. So I can tell you right now, they do not actually count the large number of people that were probably trapped in the gym when it caught fire.
Okay, so the gym doesn't count that. Okay, that was what I was curious about.
Which I think you should on one end, but shouldn't on another. I mean, I don't know.
Well, because canonically in the second movie.
Okay, well, does that mean so no deaths from the gym scene count then in this number?
I think he means that we actually see, right? Someone that we actually see die.
I'm guessing deaths that we actually see Carrie commit one-on-one. So I would say when she flips the car over with Nancy Allen.
Yeah, like when she electrocutes the. Yeah. Okay.
So there's at least 4. So there's Carrie herself, her mom, John Travolta, and the girlfriend.
The two guys, the principal.
The two guys, yeah.
Miss Collins. I 7.
You're going 7.
I'll go 7. Lucky number 7.
Just to be different, I'll go
$1, Bob.
I'll go 9 just to be different, but I think I'm probably wrong.
I don't know, man.
Okay, you guys ready for this?
Okay.
According to IMDb's trivia section, so I don't think IMDb is entirely like Wikipedia. I don't think it can just be. I think they actually govern it themselves. You can't just go in there and edit stuff. The official body count in the movie is 22.
What?
Well, I'm not going to count every fucker that I saw running in like every scene, but.
Yeah.
So you technically won, Tex. You were higher. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm nowhere near. It's a empty victory, but hey, it is what it is. So.
I was going to stick with 75. Damn it.
Well, that's what's so hard.
What do they? You should go ahead and count everybody in the gym, but the other part of me is like, it's
she walked out and shut the door. Damn it.
I mean, okay, do you count like the teacher because like they paid special attention to her? You know, I mean, I don't know.
If I saw the photographer kid run off and all of a sudden he trips and breaks his neck, I'm like, I don't know. I guess if you count what's her name dying from the hose, I mean that's 8. That's another one. I don't know how the hell you get to 22. You know, shut up, IMDb. You're wrong.
I don't know. Maybe as a exercise next time we do one of the horror films, we could actually like do our own. I'll put Jeremy in charge of like marking down exactly who.
Oh like, God, I don't want to be our own version of kill count.
Well, here's the problem though. Even the person that you're citing from IMDb, we don't know how they classified a kill because technically. You know, you could say 100 and you could be technically right because we don't know exactly how many were in that gym. Because, like, you know, Jeremy said a minute ago, I'm not going to freeze frame and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not doing that crap. I don't freaking think so. So it's just, this is not like it's a Halloween or a chainsaw where you can say, oh, okay, 5 people were killed by Michael Myers in this movie because one gets it with a knife, one gets this, one gets that, whatever. This is the problem with these. You can't clearly mark, you know, who did what. You know what I mean?
It all happened so fast, man. I don't know. The gym just burned down.
Yeah, a lot of people. She killed a lot of people.
She did.
I mean, also, it doesn't really specify. All it says is body count 22. It doesn't specify if we're talking about this in the book. I mean,
yeah, you know what?
Movie,
give me an itemized bill. Fucking cite your work.
So yeah, I'm gonna need to, you know,
that list.
I'm going to need you to show your homework, you know, since this is a school movie, you know, and I'm going to need you to show me the process, not just the answer to that equation that you did.
This is your final exam. So, you want to graduate?
Right. I'm going to need to, you know, your sources cited and show me how you got to that number, not just the number. So, yeah.
But moving on, a couple more pieces of trivia. Betty Buckley's terrified look on her face right before she gets killed is real. Well, there's one, Betty Buckley. She played the teacher. Since they hadn't been able to test the falling backboard to make sure it would stop where it was supposed to before hitting her, and no one knew for certain whether it would work. So I'm kind of wondering, how would you do a stunt and not know if it was going to work when you're throwing a board at a human being's head?
Yeah, we'll work it out.
It's like we'll work it out. We'll work it out. Kind of, you know, we'll do it like
as it comes.
Yeah.
You know,
yikes.
Sometimes, you know, the whole eggs and omelet analogy, you know, do what you got to do.
Yeah, you can't get a good horror movie without busting a few eardrums. So it's all right.
Hey, I would be like, if I ever got the opportunity to be like, you know, Leatherface or Jason or something, you know, in one of these movies, and I got like a wicked scar down my arm or something, or even on my face, like, I'm not going to be upset about that. I'm never going to shut up about that. People are going to hate me because that's all I'm ever going to talk about. You know, but, oh, well, in this scene, you know, whenever I was using my chainsaw, it got turned back on me and, you know, sliced my arm halfway off or something like.
He actually did fall backwards and cut his leg open. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. You know, it'd be, you know, that would be a badge of pride, you know, not a whatever. So.
Sir, are you aware that you have one leg? Yeah, I was Leatherface one time.
Yeah, and let me tell you how I lost that leg. You know, in 2024, I was playing Leatherface in the reboot of Texas Chainsaw. You know, cut 2 hours later in that SpongeBob voice, I'm still talking. You know, so
no, he's what the hell was his name? The guy in the wheelchair that lost his leg, Monty, in the remake.
Oh yeah, Uncle Monty. Yeah, even him up. That's sloppy work. You know.
You're that guy. You lost both legs, but hey, you committed.
Right. I'm a method actor. That's what I am. You know.
The role of a lifetime. I can only do it once.
You want me to play a cripple? Well, you know, let's do this thing, boys. It's been nice, but you know, do what you got to do.
We're remaking Forrest Gump. You want to be Lieutenant Dan?
No, I'm not sleeping with a whore that gives him AIDS and kills him. I'm not doing that. No, thank you. So.
Oh shit.
Now, one more piece of trivia. In the second to last scene, where Amy Irving lays flowers on Carrie's grave. It's actually, I don't think it's her grave. I think it's just their house.
Yeah,
it's like the embers of the house or something.
To make it more eerie, the shot was filmed backwards, then run in reverse and in slow-mo to give it a surreal effect. This is evidenced by a background automobile traversing the perpendicular intersection backwards, which the viewers can clearly observe as driving in reverse.
Yeah, that's wild. I didn't know that.
But you're not paying attention. You're not paying attention to that, though. You're paying. I mean, you're seeing the hand, grab the arm. You're not even looking at that, though.
I didn't know that until I watched that kill count. He mentions it, and I was like, "Holy shit, you're right! Goddamn!" It's like when you realize that shot from Amish Paradise with Weird Al. He did that whole one shot backwards, and I'm like, dude, I don't know how people do that shit. That's impressive.
Well, after watching this last night, I forgot. I was like, holy crap, Friday the 13th just ripped off the entire dream ending, because it's the exact same way that they do it in this movie 5 years or so before. It's literally the same thing. It's, that boy in the lake. Except this time it's, Carrie from the ashes of her, burned down home, So.
Depths of hell, yeah.
Right, yeah. Carrie White burns in hell with with a really, really long arrow drawn. I don't know why they needed to be that long, but I guess they felt fancy that day or something.
In case you were confused on which way hell went, is that way?
They wrote Carrie White burns in hell, and then there's like a silly straw drawn on the cross, and then it points down.
All the way down. Maybe I just don't get 70s kids art. I just don't get it.
Somebody felt extra that day, so what you gonna do?
I guess it just makes it look scarier when it tails off.
It might.
It does look like a devil tail. I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. Then it should have been in red ink, not black. I don't know. Wasted opportunity.
Didn't we say that she was married to the art director? So.
Right,
he was the art director of that film, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, there you go. Maybe he felt fancy.
Yeah. There you go. He was trying to prove why he got the job. And see, it's not nepotism. I earned my money, something like that or whatever. So it's all good.
I forget what he was. Yeah, he was involved with making movies somehow. I forget. Yeah. But that seems like a pretty good place to start wrapping things up. That is our review of Carrie. Real quick, Jeremy, on the way out, quick paragraph, final thoughts of the film.
It's one of those pillars of horror. You know what I mean? Horror's been around. I mean, really, horror has been around since, we ever started filming anything. But this is that kind of second generation of it. This is that's not resurgence, but that birth of all the iconics, like we were talking about, like with Carrie. You got Texas Chainsaw. You got Michael Myers. You start getting into the 80s with Jason, Freddy. So something that's this important to not only cinema but to the horror world. You can't really go wrong with Carrie, because that's something, even if you don't know anything about the movie, you've seen like that shot you have with her eyes just real big like that and the blood down her face. That shit, what that is, without even having to say it. So if you've never seen it, go watch it. It's a wild ride.
I especially loved how it's kind of lit from the bottom. It gives the shadows of it, make it that more ominous.
That's also right before she, when she turns off the lights in the gym and she's got that red hue over her face, like she's in hell, and you can just see her eyes piercing through it. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Tex, how about you? Final paragraph, final thoughts on the film.
It's a horror classic for sure. I think it's a little overrated. I will say that it's not it's not the horror film that a lot of people that maybe haven't seen it thinks it is. It's, like I said, very little horror, great, good story, very well shot. But I think this is one you need to see at least once. But after that, I don't really think you need to see it again, to be honest with you. I think it's kind of like Friday the 13th, like the original one. Once you've seen it once, you're probably good. But
that's fair.
It's earned its place in history, but I do think it's a little bit overblown.
As for me, I kind of disagree with Tex that it's Well, I mean, I would agree with them in that it's one of the better horror movies made. You know, in a era where horror movies were fantastic. I give it a little bit more credit though. I just think it's a different movie. It's a different style. De Palma's a different director who's not known for horror. There's a lot of directors out there that are known for horror. De Palma's not known for horror. His catalog of films is just vast. It's everywhere. I mean, his range as a director is fantastic. And I think he made this a De Palma-like film early in his career. I think it's really well done. Again, a little bit of a slow burn. Sometimes that doesn't work for horror movies, but for this unique kind of story, I think it works pretty well. A couple of scenes that kind of just don't fit, like I said, the one where she's showing up as Jehovah's Witness saying whatever. I didn't really get that scene. It didn't take anything away from the movie, which is kind of a waste. But it's easily, I wouldn't put it up there. Like I've always said that my all-time favorite horror movie is the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I just think it's just a great movie from start to finish.
Yes.
I don't know that I could put it anywhere up near that. I could put it in my top 10 if I had one. I could see if I actually broke down a top 10 of my favorite horror movies, it would probably be in there. I don't know exactly where because I try not to rank movies like that, but I could see it kind of being in there. Sissy Spacek is awesome. I mean, her career, goes all the way back into I want to say she was back in like the late 50s even. Smaller stuff as her career was getting started. But I mean, she's a legend. She's acting Hall of Famer for sure. Great performances, great direction, a really kind of mind-bending story. A lot of different elements to kind of feed your brain and to get you going a lot of different directions. I think it's a really fun movie to watch. And if you haven't seen it, see it. Again, it's free on Tubi. Tech said he found it free with ads on YouTube, so you can watch it. Yep. With or without the gratuitous nudity in the opening scene.
Watch the Tubi because there you get the nipples. Go watch it on Tubi.
That's obviously integral to the story.
I put in the chat earlier, there is way more boobs in this movie than there was
than there were in Frankenhooker, yeah.
Yeah, but they don't explode. Okay, I still give the nod to Frankenhooker because they have exploding boobies. I think that's better. So
yeah, no super crack in the 70s. They were still just a lot of weed in the 70s. So
crack wasn't as strong in the 70s, and 1990 it started to take off.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fair.
They didn't release crack until the 80s, so we
right. The government hadn't created it yet, so it hadn't quite got there. So wow.
But I want to thank my amazing co-host, my two horror aficionados. Like I said, who else can I talk about a horror movie with other than two guys? Obviously, a couple of people,
Right.
Actually, I was just talking to Tex, so I need to get together with Night Watch again to do some stuff. But American Werewolf, other great horror fans out there. You can go check out their channels in the description, by the way. Those are
a lot of cool guys.
They love their horror. Go check them out as well. But I'm sure they probably broke this movie down, or at least mentioned it at some point in all their collection of videos. So go watch them as well. But now let's get out of here. My hetero life mate Jeremy, where can the folks at home find you?
Like I always say on Thursday, you can find me here right now. I'm looking at now. And you're also looking at my name. It's down there at the bottom. That's it's not all caps, just the G and T. But that's my name on everything. So I'm here Thursdays for certain. Breaking down, like I said, retro movies or new movies, anything that's going on, which really is at a halt, unfortunately.
Seriously, that's gonna be a while.
Yeah, we talked about that, but I mean the point of this whole channel was like an appreciation for all movies, of any time. So with this big backlog of movies, it's like, hey, I mean, it's kind of nice that we get to go back and look back at some of this stuff. That's some of the stuff that we've all seen that makes us such big movie fans. So we've
got over 100 years worth of movies we can go watch, so we'll be okay.
So the oldest movie I've seen was 1925. It was The Wizard of Oz. Yes, you heard me right.
You've not seen Nosferatu? Nosferatu came out before that, I'm pretty sure.
Was that 23? Maybe 23.
23, yeah.
No,
23 was Nosferatu. Yeah.
No, I've seen I lied. Yeah. Sorry. It stuck out my mind, damn it, because it was so fucking weird. All right. I never. When I see Wizard of Oz 1925, I was like, I don't think that's correct. I watched it and I was like, what the hell was that? I don't know. Who am I to judge? It's whatever. It's no Judy Garland, so that's kind of unfair. It's an unfair comparison. I know that's the classic.
Right.
And I'm here whatever other days we decide to, maybe review something new or, I don't really know what we're doing next. It might be, Oppenheimer comes out, right? And then we got
Well, I could give you a clue about what we're doing, but I'd hate to spoil something.
Okay, he got me. If you just missed it, you missed it. Trust me. Yeah, okay.
I can tell you what movie I'm going to make Tex go watch the review, but I don't think I can.
That
was the biggest, most telegraphed, like Agatha Harkness wink. Like,
I could give you, I'd like to give you a hint, but you're probably smart, so you'll figure it out.
I'll figure out what room it's in, what who, whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. How can I follow that? God damn it!
I just hit the grand slam walk off win for the World Series. I'm slow strutting around the bases. So yeah.
He just mic dropped and he's still got to give his outro.
Hey, I saw an opportunity and I swung. Okay,
yeah,
it's all good. So
I think I got a ball at least. I watch it go right by me. Yeah, and like I said, I'm a terrible content creator. I mean, all I gotta do is move probably that PlayStation into a different room just to play some stuff. But I don't know. I don't know. Maybe something I'll mention again. I forgot to last stream to mention Brooding Gamer as a shout out because I pop in and out of his stuff occasionally. So he gave me an idea to do something with Instagram because I'm not like these young kids. But I was like, maybe I could, that seems like a platform better for doing like props and cosplay stuff. So if that's something that interests you, because like I said, I'm a technical and like prop and effects type person for movies. That's the kind of thing that interests me a lot. That's where that could, be an outlet for. But other than that, yeah, I play a lot of video games. That's what I do.
He's better at it than I am.
And there are plenty of people better than me. Not to harp on Frank, but I mean, like, there are people that just absolutely shit on me.
I'm a casual gamer anymore. I don't play like I did when I was young.
I would still say I'm casual. I don't try that damn hard.
And of course, our good friend from the Lone Star State, the Shape from the Lone Star State, our man Tex. What do you got going on, my friend?
Well, assuming Frank meets my demands, I'll be here next week. Otherwise, I'm on strike. So, y'all just gonna have to deal with that. Tell Frank to give me what I want, and everything will be okay. I'm not demanding a lot. He's just, he's trying to, be a little outrageous and get all Walt Disney on us over here. So, but hey,
Tex officially goes on strike at 12:01 a.m.
Yeah, this was my last show. I'm standing with the SAG-AFTRA at Friday morning. I'm done unless my demands are met, and Frank's gonna have to give in and start just making some changes. But we'll figure it out. We'll go to the negotiating table. Maybe we can have Jeremy as like a intervening and whatever. We'll figure it all out. But hey,
I told you I'll buy your tickets to go see Barbie. That's not a problem.
Hey, fuck you, motherfucker. I might just have to just walk off. This is getting. I can't deal with these work environment conditions anymore, people. This is getting hostile.
Are we making this a hostile work environment for you?
I'm gonna have to get Johnny Cochran. I'm gonna have to do a seance and get Johnny Cochran over here because this is bullshit. But no, no.
Johnny Cochran probably still win.
Yeah, he'll still win. You got enough money.
He got no. Off. He's still gonna win.
Yeah.
Right, but no. I'll be here next week. Well, whatever we do, I'll be here. So it's all good.
As for me, you can find me here doing all the reviews. I guess I'm going to go ahead and spoil it since Tex tried to leave a clue. We're actually going to be back here Monday. Not just the three of us, but we're going to be joined by Alex from Alex the Garbage Man. We're going to be doing Clue, the classic with a bunch of absolute comedic bangers. Man. Not to mention the absolutely amazing Tim Curry. So good in this movie. Movie is so fantastic. A lot of great comedy. This is a movie we've been trying to do for a while. I kind of brought it up on Alex the Garbage Man stream, I don't know, probably like a month and a half ago or something like that. Finally got some schedules worked out. Thankfully, because they're not doing a stream on Monday, he's going to be free. I told him I could pop onto his stream Monday and kind of fill in for Dr. Nick, since Dr. Nick wasn't going to be able to make it. But he said, no, that'd be a great
Dr. Nick.
Review. Yeah, that'd be a great day to the Clue review. And I said, you know what, you're right. If you're free, I'll get with my guys, make sure they're free. So we're going to be back here Monday at 8:15 to do our retro movie review of the comedy classic Clue. That's going to be a great discussion. discussion. And we're going to have Alex here, which is going to make it that much better. Other than that, you can see me on here a couple nights a week. I'm trying to do a few more shorts here and there. I meant to do some shorts. I went and saw Transformers. I meant to do a short, quick review of that. Didn't get around to it. I obviously the same day I went and saw Dial of Destiny and didn't get around to doing that one either. Now it's kind of pointless because we already gave you our full review. But we've got plenty coming up. We've got Monday coming up. We've got, like I said, we've got Clue. There'll probably be another retro movie review next week, and then the week after next, I believe, is Oppenheimer. And I am fully jazzed to see that movie. I shared an article with these guys in our Twitter room about how the first reactions to that movie just been gigantic. They've been huge. People are loving the hell out of this movie.
I mean, I guess you could say mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing, absolutely. And I'm really looking forward to seeing this movie. So I have a feeling.
Don't you mean
it's a fun review?
It's not Oppenheimer. It's Barbenheimer. Okay,
Yeah.
haven't you seen the post and the T-shirts and the movie posters?
You're supposed to watch Barbie. Yeah. We're going to watch Oppenheimer. We're going to do like a dual review.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how I must have missed that vote, or it was like a backdoor room kind of thing, because I wasn't in on that company meeting. But
we called Joe Biden. He signed an executive order. It's cool.
Fuck him too. So
did you get that memo? I'll make you a copy of that. Your TPS report.
I told him he dropped his blow in the West Wing, and he was like, "Oh, thanks." Like I didn't even say you. I was like, "Just saw an executive order saying that Texas got to go watch Barbie."
I must have not got the email. It must have been on Hunter Biden's laptop, and I didn't get it.
Did you delete the email?
So no, they wiped the server. It's all good. It's a whole thing. So what you gonna
chalk
do?
it up to an oopsie.
There you go.
Derek, I'm not gonna lie. The more and more I hear about this film, I'm gonna go see it at some point.
I keep wanting to see it too. Yeah.
And I'm gonna have to go see it. American Werewolf New Jersey was talking to me about this. We were going back and forth on DMs on Twitter. He was like, "Dude, this movie is awesome." And he was asking if I was gonna be free for a review. I wasn't.
I've seen it, dude. You need to see this movie. I saw it. I commented. I think it was Saturday when I saw it. This is my favorite movie I've seen this year, non-horror. I really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, so
Jim Caviezel delivers.
Yeah, there's probably going to be a review of that movie coming up here in the next couple of weeks once I can squeeze the time. And like I said, I had heard it was a good movie, but I mean, the press that it's gotten, the critics have loved it. It's like I wasn't in a hurry to see it. Otherwise, I probably would have seen it opening. I'm trying to find some time to see it opening weekend. I might have gone to see that instead of Transformers if I'd have known how big it was going to hit. But we'll get to it. We'll get to it. It'll be some point in the next couple of weeks. We'll get to it. But again, the next couple of weeks is going to be full. We got Oppenheimer, and then we've got a couple things. We got the Haunted Mansion coming out. We're going to be doing Haunted Mansion, the one that came out like what, 2000? When was it, Jay? 2004. 4?
No,
is that the one?
3.
3. We're going to do that one as a retro movie review. Then we're going to do the review of the new Haunted Mansion coming out. I think Rooney Gamer's wanting to come off of that one because he's really excited.
That one automatically sucks. It's got Jamie Lee Curtis. It's got Jamie Lee Curtis in it. It's an automatic F. I have to go ahead and grade it now.
Hey, you said you're only dropping it a 1-letter grade. You haven't even given it a letter grade yet.
It has been documented.
Yeah,
you said.
Well, I'm going to assume it's probably going to be because it's Disney, right? So I'm going to go ahead and drop the letter grade now and give it the F. But I'll see it, but. Jamie Lee Curtis should not do movies anymore.
Don't suffer yourself, jeez.
I hate her.
Don't sacrifice yourself on our account here, Tex.
You turn to Bob's Burgers, okay, but I'm going to complain the whole time.
She just ruins things. I just hate her. Just go back to doing yogurt commercials and leave the movies alone, please.
Activia.
Right.
Thank you guys so much. We will see you guys. Again, thank you very much for all of those of you who voted the poll. I forgot to tell you how the poll went. The poll was, let's bring yourself up. There was 75% said it was great, 17% said it was meh. And for some reason, somebody voted they're all going to laugh at you. So maybe they didn't think it was a good movie. But that's okay. We're not mad. Thank you guys for coming and hanging out. I very much appreciate it. We'll see you guys on Monday. Until then, adios.
Maybe Carrie just needed some Activia. Maybe she'd had a bad tummy ache. I don't know.
Well, I think Mommy needed to get laid, and she wouldn't have been such a bitch. But
she did. Look what happened.
I mean, maybe get laid again.
Kids.
Just she needs to get dick down one good time, so she forgets about all this bullshit she's dealing with. She might have been all right to deal with.
That's the most misogynistic thing I've said, but she liked